Hey guys, tonight we begin with the frozen, lightless, and absolutely merciless world of Antarctic winter survival, where the temperature makes a medieval winter look like a tropical vacation, and your chances of keeping all your toes are roughly the same as winning the lottery. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see who is joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are standing outside a wooden hut on the coast of Antarctica. It is June, which means it is winter, Antarctic winter. The kind of winter that makes every other winter apologize for even trying. The temperature is negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That is negative 40 Celsius too, because negative 40 is where both scales meet. Give up. Admit defeat. Agree that this temperature is just wrong. But it is not just the temperature, it is the wind. The Antarctic wind doesn't blow, it attacks. It screams across the ice at 60, 70, 80 miles per h-hour, carrying ice crystals that sandblast your face. Each gust feels like being slapped with frozen knives. You've been outside for 3 minutes. You can't feel your face. This is normal, expected. You go back inside. Your face will thaw, painfully. It always does. Inside the hut is barely better. The walls are wood, single layer, maybe an inch thick. There is a small stove, coal, burning. You are rationing the coal. Have to. The supply needs to last 4 months. 4 months until the sun returns, until ships can reach you, until rescue becomes possible. If you run out of coal early, you freeze. Simple equation, terrifying equation. The hut is 20 feet by 30 feet, 600 square feet. 8 men live here. That is 75 square feet per person. Sounds reasonable until you realize this is your entire world. Kitchen, bedroom, living room, workshop, laboratory, social space, entertainment menu. Everything. For 4 months. In total darkness, with 7 other men who are also going slowly insane. You look out the window, or rather, you look at the window, you can't see through it. It is frosted over, ice on the inside, from your breath, from cooking, from existing. The ice is thick, an inch thick. You could scrape it off. You don't. It is insulation. Terrible insulation, but some insulation is better than none. So you leave it. Live in a hut with windows you can't see through. This is fine. There is nothing to see anyway. It has been dark for 2 months. Will be dark for 2 more. The sun left in April. Won't return until August. 4 months of night. Continuous. Unending. Absolute. This is Antarctic winter. This is what you signed up for, volunteered for. Paid to experience because you are an explorer, an adventurer, a scientist. Or possibly just insane. The line between bravery and insanity is thin. In Antarctica, it disappears completely. Welcome to the bottom of the world, where the temperature can kill you in minutes. The darkness lasts for months, and your survival depends on a wooden shack, a pile of coal, and the hope that your companions don't snap and murder you in your sleep. Let's talk about the cold, because you think you understand cold. You don't. You've experienced winter. Maybe you've been skiing. Maybe you've lived in Minnesota, Alaska, Canada. You think that is cold. It is not. That is cute. That is cold playing pretend. Antarctic cold is different. Antarctic cold is personal. Antarctic cold wants you dead. The temperature we mentioned, negative 40. That is on a good day, a calm day. When the wind is low, when you are lucky. On a bad day, the temperature drops to negative 60, negative 70. The wind chill pushes it lower. Negative 100 is possible. At negative 100, your breath freezes before it leaves your mouth. The moisture in your nose freezes solid. Your eyelashes freeze together. Blinking becomes difficult, then impossible. Your eyes freeze open. You have to warm your face with your hands to be able to close your eyes. This is not hyperbole. This is not exaggeration. This is documented. This happened. Repeatedly. At these temperatures, metal becomes dangerous. Touch metal with bare skin, and you stick to it instantly. The moisture on your skin freezes. Bonds you to the metal. You pull away. Your skin stays. Rips off. You are bleeding. Your blood freezes. Immediately. Forms ice crystals on your wound. This is not a good way to learn about metal conductivity, but it is how you learn once. You don't touch metal twice. Liquid water doesn't exist. Not outside. Not without heating. Water freezes before you can drink it. You are holding a cup, taking it from inside to outside. By the time you reach the door, it is ice. Not slushy. Not partially frozen. Solid ice. The transformation takes seconds. You learn to drink before you open doors. Or you learn to be thirsty. Most choose thirsty. Your clothing freezes. You are wearing wool, multiple layers, sealskin, whatever you have, but you sweat, because you are working, moving, existing. The sweat freezes in your clothes, your shirt becomes a rigid board. Your pants too. You are wearing frozen clothing. It doesn't bend. It cracks. You bend and your shirt cracks like glass. The sound is distinctive, unnerving. You are cracking like ice, because you are ice. You are a person-shaped ice sculpture that is still alive, technically. Your sleeping bag freezes. You sleep in it every night. Your breath, your body heat, creates moisture. The moisture freezes. The bag gets heavier and heavier. Some explorers documented their sleeping bags gaining 40, 50, 60 pounds of ice over a winter. You are sleeping in a bag that weighs more than you do. Getting in is hard. Getting out is harder. The bag is rigid, frozen solid around you. You have to break yourself out, like hatching from an egg made of ice and suffering. Let's talk about frostbite, because frostbite is not optional. It is not something that might happen. It is guaranteed. Everyone gets frostbite, multiple times, on multiple body parts. The question is not if, it is how bad, and whether you keep the affected parts. Frostbite starts with tingling. Your fingers tingle, your toes, your nose, your ears. This is your body's warning system, saying, hey, we're losing this battle. Circulation is failing. You should do something. You try to do something. Warm the area, but you are in Antarctica. In winter, there is no warm. There is cold and slightly less cold. You choose slightly less cold. Hope it is enough. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is not. If you ignore the tingling or can't fix it, the next stage begins. The area goes numb. Completely numb. This is actually preferable to tingling. Numb doesn't hurt. You can't feel your toes. Great. You can still walk, still work, still function. You make a note. Toes are numb. We'll deal with it later. You have other problems. Everything is a problem. Numb toes are low priority. Then the numbness is replaced by pain. Not regular pain, frostbite pain. It feels like your toes are being crushed in a vise and burned simultaneously. The pain is intense. Overwhelming. You can't think about anything else. Your toes are screaming. You are screaming. Everyone tells you to shut up. They can't sleep with you screaming about your toes. Their toes hurt too. Everyone's toes hurt. This is Antarctica. Suffering is communal. The skin changes colour. White at first. Pale white, dead white. Then yellow, then grey, then black. The progression is predictable. Inevitable. You watch your toes turn black. Day by day, there is nothing you can do. No treatment, no medicine, no hospital. Just you, your toes, and time. Waiting to see if the tissue dies completely or partially recovers. Usually, it dies. When the tissue dies, it mummifies. Your toes become hard, blackened, mummified. They look like small pieces of charcoal attached to your foot. They don't hurt anymore. Dead tissue doesn't hurt. This is a relief, sort of. You can't feel your toes, because you don't have toes. You have toe-shaped pieces of dead tissue that will eventually fall off or need to be amputated. Either way, you are losing them. The amputation happens later, after rescue, after you reach civilization. A doctor will look at your black toes, shake his head. Reach for a saw. This is the 1910s, the 1920s. Anesthesia exists, but it is not great. You'll be awake, aware. You'll watch your toes being removed. Hear the saw, feel the vibration, smell the burning as they cauterize. This is the reward for surviving Antarctica. Congratulations. You get to experience amputation. Some explorers lost toes, some lost feet, some lost more. Ernest Shackleton's crew included men who lost toes on both feet, walked with permanent limps. Douglas Mawson lost the skin on his feet. Not toes, skin. The entire sole of his foot. It just sloughed off, came off in chunks. He wrapped the remaining raw flesh in bandages, walked anyway, for weeks. on raw meat feet, because the alternative was dying. And he chose not dying. Stubborn choice. Painful choice. But effective. Your nose is also vulnerable. Frostbitten noses are common. The nose sticks out. Exposed. Gets cold first. The tip goes numb, then black, then falls off. Not immediately. Over weeks, the black tissue dries. Hardens, eventually just detaches. You wake up one morning. Your nose tip is on your pillow. You are now missing part of your nose. This affects your appearance, your breathing, your sense of smell. But you are alive. Missing a nose tip, but alive. This is victory. Antarctic victory. Ears suffer too. Exposed ears freeze, turn black, fall off. Some explorers lost their ears partially or completely. The ear cartilage freezes, dies, detaches. You are left with holes on the sides of your head, where ears used to be. This makes hearing difficult, and social interactions awkward. But you survived Antarctica. That is what matters. That is what you tell yourself. While looking in a mirror at your missing ears, at your missing nose, at your missing toes, you survived. You just didn't survive intact. Let's talk about the darkness, because the cold is terrible. But the darkness is worse. The cold you can fight. Layer clothing, burn fuel, generate heat. The darkness you can't fight. It just is. For months. Relentless. Absolute. Maddening. The sun sets in April. Doesn't rise again until August, 4 months. 120 days. 2,880 hours. Of darkness. Not nighttime darkness. Not the darkness where there is still light pollution. Ambient light. Street lights. This is total darkness. Complete absence of sun. The kind of dark that existed before humans invented light. Primordial darkness. Prehistoric darkness. The darkness your ancestors feared. With good reason. For the first few weeks, it is not terrible. Not great, but manageable. You light lamps. Candles create artificial light. Work during the day. Except there is no day. You create schedules. Wake at 8 a.m. Even though 8 a.m. is pitch black. Work. Eat. Sleep. Maintain routine. Routine is important. Routine keeps you sane. Theoretically. But the darkness wears on you psychologically. Emotionally. Physically. Your body knows something is wrong. Humans are diurnal. We need sunlight. We evolved with sunlight, day and night. Cycles. Rhythms. Antarctica doesn't care about your evolutionary needs. Antarctica has decided there will be no sun. Your body protests. Your brain protests. You ignore them. What choice do you have? You become depressed. Everyone becomes depressed. Clinical depression, caused by lack of sunlight. No vitamin D. No light. Triggered serotonin production. Your brain chemistry changes. You feel hopeless. Exhausted. Unmotivated. Getting out of your frozen sleeping bag is impossible. The effort required is too much. You lie there, in the dark, in a frozen bag, contemplating existence, regretting choices. This is every morning, every single morning, for months. Some explorers stopped washing, stopped shaving, stopped caring about appearance, about hygiene, about anything. Depression won. They'd lie in their bunks, stare at the ceiling, contribute nothing. The others would try to rouse them, get them working. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes people just gave up, waited for it to end. Either the winter would end, or they would. Either was acceptable. The sleep patterns collapsed. Without sunlight, your circadian rhythm breaks. You can't tell when you should sleep. When you should wake, you sleep at random times. For random durations, you are awake when everyone else is asleep. Asleep when they're awake. This isolates you further, makes coordination impossible, makes everything harder. Some explorers barely slept. Insomnia in the darkness. Too depressed to sleep. Too anxious. Lying awake in the dark. For hours, days. Listening to the wind, the ice. The other men snoring, going slowly mad. Hallucinations were common. Lack of light. Lack of sleep. Lack of nutrition. Mix them together and your brain starts creating things. You see people who aren't there. Hear voices. Conversations. Music. Your dead relatives appear. Talk to you. You know they're not real. Probably not real. But they seem real. More real than the darkness. More real than the cold. You talk back. Have conversations with hallucinations. The other explorers notice. They don't say anything. They're having their own hallucinations. Everyone is. This is normal. This is Antarctic winter. The psychological effects were documented extensively. One explorer described seeing a crystal city in the darkness. Beautiful. Glowing. He'd watch it for hours. Describe it to the others. They'd nod, humor him. He knew it wasn't real. Probably, but it was beautiful. And beauty was rare. So he watched, appreciated, enjoyed his hallucination. This was entertainment. This was what you did for fun. Hallucinate. Share hallucinations. Compare notes on the quality of your hallucinations. Dark humor. Literally. Let's discuss the living conditions in more detail. The hut. Your shelter, your prison, your tomb. Depending on how the winter went, the typical Antarctic winter hut was built from whatever materials the expedition brought. Wood, usually prefabricated panels, shipped from England, Norway, wherever, designed by people who'd never been to Antarctica, who'd never experienced Antarctic conditions. The designs were inadequate, consistently, predictably, fatally sometimes. The hut would be roughly 20 by 30 feet, sometimes smaller, sometimes larger, never large enough. The walls were single layer wood, maybe double layer if you were lucky. There was no insulation. Insulation hadn't been invented yet. Not for buildings. You had air gaps. That was your insulation. Air. The same air that was negative 40 degrees outside. Great insulation. Very effective. The roof was similar. Wood panels. Tar paper. Hope the roof would leak. Not water. Ice, the warmth from inside would meet the cold from outside. Condensation would form. Freeze, ice would grow on the inside of the roof. Icicles hanging down, growing longer every day. Eventually they'd be a foot long, 2 feet, 3 feet, hanging over your head while you slept, while you ate, while you worked. Ice stalactites. Inside your shelter, this was normal. This was fine, probably. The floor was wood over bare ground, or ice, sometimes just ice. The ground in Antarctica is frozen, permanently. Permafrost. You couldn't dig, couldn't excavate, couldn't level. The hut was built on whatever surface existed, usually uneven. The floor would slope, tilt. Your bunk would be at an angle. You'd roll downhill in your sleep, hit the wall, wake up, readjust. Fall asleep, roll again. This was every night. The heating was a single stove, coal, fired, or blubber, fired if you had seal blubber. The stove was in the center of the hut, theoretically heating the whole space. In practice, it created a temperature gradient. Near the stove, almost warm, maybe 50 degrees Fahrenheit. 10 feet from the stove, freezing. 32 degrees Fahrenheit. At the walls, whatever the outside temperature was, negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, you could measure the temperature drop. 1 degree per F-oot. Walk from the stove to the wall and experience a 90-degree temperature drop in 20 feet. Your bunk was against the wall, because space was limited. Everyone's bunk was against the wall. You'd sleep in your bunk against the wall, where the temperature was below freezing. Inside, your sleeping bag would freeze to the wall. You'd be frozen to the wall. In the morning, you'd have to break yourself free, pry yourself off the frozen wall. Leave some of your sleeping bag stuck to it. This was your alarm clock. Freezing to the wall, then breaking free. Daily, the bunks were wooden shelves, maybe 6 feet long, 2 feet wide, stacked 2 high. 3 high if space was really tight. You'd climb into your bunk, hit your head on the bunk above. Everyone hit their heads, multiple times. But Alton. The hut was too small, the bunks too close, everything too cramped. You developed permanent bruises on your forehead from hitting the bunk above you. This was Antarctic life. Bruises, frostbite, head injuries, all from just trying to sleep. Privacy didn't exist, couldn't exist. 8 men in 600 square feet. You were always within sight of someone, within earshot of everyone. There were no doors, no walls, no separate rooms. Just one space, communal, shared, inescapable. You'd undress with everyone watching, dress with everyone watching, exist with everyone watching. For months. You'd learn things about your companions, intimate things, things you didn't want to know, things you couldn't unknow. Their snoring patterns, their digestive issues, their personal habits. Everything forever. The smell was indescribable. 8 men. Not washing, not bathing, wearing the same clothes for months, cooking seal meat, burning blubber, sweating into frozen clothing. The smells combined, layered, fermented, created an atmosphere you could taste. Thick, oily, organic. You'd walk into the hut from outside. The smell would hit you like a wall, physical, overwhelming. You'd gag, then adapt. Your nose would give up. Surrender, stop registering the smell. Self-defense mechanism. necessary survival strategy. The moisture was constant, men breathing, cooking, melting ice for water. All produced moisture. The moisture had nowhere to go. It would condense on everything, the walls, the ceiling, your belongings, your clothes. Everything was always damp. The dampness would freeze. Everything was damp and frozen simultaneously. This combination was uniquely terrible. Damp, frozen clothing. Damp, frozen bedding. Damp, frozen books. Damp, frozen everything. This was your life. Now let's talk about food, because you have to eat, even in Antarctica, especially in Antarctica. Your body burns calories fighting the cold. Thousands of extra calories per Dalton Yoy. Just staying alive. You need food. Lots of food. You brought food. Hopefully enough food. Maybe enough food. Probably not enough food. The standard Antarctic diet was based on preserved foods. No fresh anything. No vegetables. No fruit. Everything was canned, dried, salted, frozen. The expedition would bring canned meats, canned vegetables, hardtack biscuits. Yes, the same hardtack from maritime voyages, because apparently hardtack was the universal answer to food preservation. It wasn't a good answer, but it was an answer. Pemmican was the staple. Pemmican is dried meat, usually beef or caribou, pounded into powder, mixed with fat, rendered fat. Lots of fat. The ratio was roughly 50% meat, 50% fat by weight. This created a dense, calorie-rich food that wouldn't spoil, couldn't spoil. It was already so preserved it was basically immortal. The taste was indescribable. Imagine eating a candle made of meat. That is pemmican. Waxy, greasy, meaty. All wrong. You'd eat pemmican by heating it, melting the fat, creating a soup, pemmican soup. Or, Hoosh's explorers called it. You'd add hot water to chunks of pemmican, stir until it melted. The result was greasy, meaty water with chunks of unidentified texture floating in it. This was dinner. This was every dinner, for months. The taste never improved, never became enjoyable. Just familiar, familiarly terrible. Some expeditions brought variety. Canned fruits, canned vegetables. These were treats. Luxuries rationed carefully. 1 can of peaches for 8 men. Everyone gets 1 peach slice. You'd eat your slice slowly, make it last, savour the sweetness, the flavour. Anything that wasn't pemmican. The joy was intense, disproportionate. 1 slice of canned peach shouldn't make a grown man cry, but it did, regularly. This was what deprivation did, made small pleasures overwhelming. The canned goods would freeze, obviously, everything froze. You'd try to open a can of beef. The contents would be frozen solid. You'd need to thaw it, heat it. This required fuel, coal, blubber, whatever you had. Everything required fuel. Fuel was limited, so you'd make choices. Heat the hut or heat the food. Sometimes you chose heat the hut. Ate frozen food. Frozen canned beef. You'd chip pieces off with a knife. Put them in your mouth. Let them thaw there. This took time. You'd sit there, mouth full of frozen beef, waiting for it to thaw enough to chew. This was every meal. Frozen, patient, terrible. Fresh meat was possible if you hunted seals or penguins. The seals would haul out on the ice. Before winter, during autumn, you'd kill them. As many as possible. Store them. The Antarctic cold was perfect for food preservation. You'd stack seal carcasses outside. They'd freeze solid, remain frozen. Perfect preservation. You'd have a pile of frozen seals. Your winter food supply. This worked well until the blizzards came. Buried your seals under snow. Under ice, you'd have to dig them out. Find them. They were all frozen and covered in snow. Looked identical. You'd dig randomly. Hope you found a seal, and not just ice. This was Antarctic grocery shopping. The seal meat was dark, fishy, strong flavoured. You'd cook it. The smell would fill the hut. Fishy, oily, overwhelming. Some men loved it, craved it. Others hated it, gagged on it. You ate it anyway. It was fresh, relatively fresh. Not canned, not pemmican. Difference had value, even if the difference tasted like fish oil and regret. Penguin meat was available too. If you could catch penguins, they'd waddle around. Curious, unafraid. You'd walk up. Kill one. The penguin's friends would watch, uncomprehending. Penguins evolved without land predators. They didn't understand danger from humans. They'd stand there, watching you kill and butcher their companion. Still curious. This made hunting easy. Also emotionally complicated. You'd eat penguin, feel guilty. Eat more penguin, feel more guilty. Survive. Guilt was optional. Survival wasn't. The penguin meat was dark, almost black, tasted like liver. Fishy liver. The texture was dense, chewy. Some explorers loved it, most tolerated it. A few refused to eat it, thought it was wrong. Murder. Those few ate more pemmican, stayed more hungry, maintained their moral standards. Eventually their standards lowered. Hunger won. Everyone eventually ate penguin. Morality couldn't compete with starvation, but sometimes the seals weren't available. The penguins were gone. The supplies ran low. You faced a choice. Starve, or eat the dogs. The sled dogs. Your transportation, your companions, your only friends who didn't judge you. You had to eat them. The decision was agonizing. The dogs had names, personalities. You'd worked with them for months, trained them, bonded with them. They trusted you, and now you needed to kill them, eat them. This was survival. This was necessity. This was Antarctic logic. Cold, brutal, inescapable. You'd choose the weakest dog, the sick one, the injured one, the one who wasn't pulling their weight. Literally, this made it easier. Marginally, you'd take the dog away from the others. Far enough that they couldn't see, couldn't hear. You'd kill it quickly. As humanely as possible then. Butcher it. Try not to think about it. The dog meat would be tough. Stringy, it tasted like dog, which tasted like nothing else. Not quite beef. Not quite pork. Something else. Something wrong. You'd eat it anyway. Cook it into a stew. Dog stew, mix it with pemmican. Try to hide the taste. The texture. The knowledge of what you were eating. Some men refused. Couldn't do it. Starved instead. Most men ate. Survived. Hated themselves. This was Antarctic cuisine. This was what explorers did. One dog would last a week. Maybe two if you ration carefully. Then you'd need another. And another. The dog team would shrink. By the end of winter, you might have eaten half your dogs. The remaining dogs would watch. Smell the cooking. Recognize it. They knew. Dogs aren't stupid. They knew they were being eaten. One by one. They couldn't escape. Nowhere to go. Just Antarctica. Ice, death. They'd stay. Wait. Hope they wouldn't be next. Some were. Some weren't. Luck. Terrible luck. Let's discuss the expeditions in specific real stories. Real people. Real suffering. Because this isn't theoretical. This happened. These are documented facts. From expedition journals. From survivors. From the men who lived it. And the men who died trying. Robert Falcon Scott's Terra Nova expedition, 1910 to 1913. Scott and 4 companions made it to the South Pole, second to arrive. Roald Amundsen beat them by 34 days. Scott's team turned around, started the trek back, never made it, all 5 died. Froze, starved, gave up. Their bodies were found 8 months later, in their tent, frozen solid. Their journals with them, documenting everything. The cold, the hunger, the despair, the acceptance of death. Scott's final journal entry was the 29th of March, 1912. They'd been trapped in their tent by a blizzard for days. Out of food, nearly out of fuel, unable to move, too weak, too cold. Scott knew they were dying. He wrote letters. To his wife, to his friends, to the public, beautiful letters. Heartbreaking letters, accepting responsibility, accepting death. His last written words were, "For God's sake, look after our people." Then he put down his pen. Froze died. With his companions, 11 miles from a supply depot, 11 miles from food, from fuel, from possible salvation. They couldn't make it. Too weak, too cold, too broken. The winter party of that same expedition had their own horror. 6 men, stuck at Cape Crozier, in winter, in total darkness, trying to collect emperor penguin eggs for science. This journey was described as the worst journey in the world. The title is accurate. The temperature dropped to -77 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind chill made it colder. Their tent blew away in a storm. They spent 2 days in the open, in the wind. In -77 degrees, building a shelter from snow blocks with frozen hands, frozen faces, frozen everything. 3 men. 5 days. Somehow survived. Collected 3 penguin eggs. The eggs broke on the journey home. The science was worthless. The suffering was immeasurable, but they survived. Missing toes, missing fingertips, missing skin. but alive. Ernest Shackleton's Endurance Expedition, 1914 to 1917. Different kind of disaster. The ship Endurance got trapped in ice, crushed, sank. The crew escaped onto the ice. 28 men, on an ice floe, in the middle of the Weddell Sea, hundreds of miles from land. From help. From anything, they camped on the ice for months. As the ice drifted, broke apart. Eventually they reached open water, got in lifeboats. 3 small boats, 28 men, sailed for Elephant Island, a barren rock, barely land. But land they landed survived, barely. Shackleton and 5 men then sailed 1 boat to South Georgia Island, 800 miles, in a lifeboat. Through the worst ocean in the world, the Southern Ocean, Drake Passage, where waves regularly reach 60 feet, where the wind never stops. They sailed for 17 days, nearly died multiple times, made it, landed on the wrong side of the island, had to cross the mountains, unmapped mountains, with no equipment, no food, no sleep. They walked for 36 hours straight, over glaciers, over peaks, through crevasses, made it, reached a whaling station, arranged rescue. Saved everyone? All 28 men survived. This is considered Shackleton's greatest achievement. Not exploring, not discovering, just not letting anyone die. Everyone went home, missing toes, missing parts, but alive. Douglas Mawson's Australasian Antarctic Expedition, 1911 to 1914. Mawson led a sledging party. 3 men. They travelled far from base. 1 man fell into a crevasse, died, took most of the food with him. The tent, the supplies, gone. Mawson and his companion Mertz had to return, 300 miles. With minimal food, they ate the dogs. All of them. The dog meat made them sick. The liver especially. Husky liver is toxic. Contains too much vitamin A, hypervitaminosis. A causes sickness. Delirium, skin falling off. They didn't know this. Ate the liver, got sick. Mertz died. Went insane first, then died. Mawson was alone, 100 miles from base, starving, sick. His skin falling off. He walked anyway. For weeks, fell into crevasses, pulled himself out, kept walking, made it to base. Barely missed the rescue ship by hours. Had to stay another winter. Survived that too. Stubborn. Impossibly stubborn. Lucky. Impossibly lucky. These weren't exceptional stories. These were typical stories. Every Antarctic expedition had similar experiences. Different details. Same suffering. Same cold. Same darkness. Same desperation. Same choice between giving up and pushing forward. Most pushed forward. Not all. But most. The ones who gave up, we don't remember. The ones who pushed forward became heroes. Legends. The men who survived Antarctica. Let's talk about the equipment failures, because the early Antarctic explorers had terrible equipment. Not because they were careless, because the technology didn't exist yet, hadn't been invented, hadn't been tested. They were pioneers testing gear through trial and error, mostly error sometimes. The clothing was wool, layers of wool. Maybe some windproof outer layer, canvas gabardine. Something dense. But the windproofing was inadequate. The wind would penetrate. The cold would follow. You'd wear 4 layers of wool, still freeze. Add another layer, still freeze. Eventually you were wearing so many layers you couldn't move. Couldn't bend your arms. Couldn't walk normally. You'd waddle. Like a penguin. Ironic. Ineffective. Still cold. The wool would absorb moisture. Your sweat. Your breath. The moisture would freeze. Your clothing would become armor. Frozen armor. Heavy. Rigid. Uncomfortable. You'd take off your jacket at night. It would stand up on its own. Literally stand. Like a person-shaped ice sculpture. You'd hang it to dry. It wouldn't dry. There was no dry. Just frozen. And more frozen. You'd put it back on in the morning. Cold. Frozen. Slightly damp. The dampness would freeze against your skin. This was your wardrobe. This was fashion. The boots were leather. Sealskin, if you were lucky. The leather would freeze. Become rigid. You'd try to walk. The boots wouldn't bend. Your feet would slide around inside. Friction. Blisters. The blisters would pop. Freeze. You'd develop frostbite inside your boots. Lose toes while your feet were theoretically protected. The boots protected nothing. They were decorative coffins for your feet. Expensive decorative coffins. The sleeping bags were reindeer fur or sealskin. Both inadequate. The fur would freeze. become brittle, break, fall out. By midwinter, your sleeping bag would be half-boled. Patches of fur, patches of bare hide. The bare patches offered no insulation. You'd freeze in those spots, develop cold spots on your body, permanent cold spots, even after returning to civilization. Some explorers reported feeling cold on specific body parts for years afterward. Phantom cold, psychological cold, Antarctic cold that followed them home. The tents were canvas, single-layer canvas, flapping in the wind. The wind would find every gap, every seam, every opening. The cold would pour in. You'd be sleeping in a tent, supposedly sheltered. The temperature inside would be the same as outside. -40, the tent was psychological shelter, not physical. You felt safer inside. You weren't, but you felt safer. This was important. Mental health was important, even when physical shelter was non-existent. The sleds were wood, iron runners, heavy. The sleds would work fine on snow, terrible on ice. The iron runners would stick. Freeze to the surface, you'd pull. The sled wouldn't move. You'd pull harder. Still nothing. You'd chip the ice away. Free the runners. Pull, move 3 feet. Freeze again. This was progress, 3 feet at a time, for miles, for days. This was sledding. This was transportation. This was hell. The fuel was inadequate. Every expedition underestimated fuel needs. Every single one, they'd calculate. We need X amount of coal, or paraffin, or blubber. For Y days, they'd bring exactly that amount, or slightly more. Then winter would be colder than expected, darker than expected, longer than expected, longer than expected. Rationing would begin, heat the hut for 4 hours per Dalton Y. Then 3, then 2, then 1. Eventually you'd be burning minimal fuel, just enough to cook, not enough to heat. You'd live in a frozen hut, eat hot food once a day, freeze the other 23 hours. This was fuel management. This was survival. Some expeditions ran out of fuel completely. The stove would go cold, stay cold for weeks. Months you'd eat food cold, sleep in a freezing hut, freeze continuously, with no relief, no warmth, no hope of warmth. This broke people, physically and mentally. The cold was bad. Continuous cold with no breaks was unbearable. Some explorers preferred to die, chose to die, walked out into the blizzard, never came back. The others would find them later, frozen solid, sitting peaceful, dead. This was easier than living. This was an acceptable choice. The others understood. Nobody judged. Let's talk about the medical situation, because you will get injured. You will get sick. This is guaranteed. The question is whether you survive it. There was no hospital, no doctor in many cases, maybe one person with medical training, basic training, first aid. Maybe they'd have a medical kit, bandages, some medications, laudanum for pain. That is opium. You'd be treating severe injuries with opium and hope. This was medical care. This was all you had. Frostbite we've discussed, but there were other cold injuries. Hypothermia. Your core temperature drops. You become confused, lethargic, uncoordinated. Your speech slurs. You can't think, can't make decisions, can't save yourself. The others have to save you. Strip off your frozen clothing. Put you in a sleeping bag. Warm you slowly. If you warm too fast, you die. Rewarming shock. Your heart can't handle the rapid temperature change. Stops. You are dead. So they warm you slowly, carefully. Hope you survive. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Luck. Always luck. Snow blindness was common. The sun, when it existed, would reflect off the snow. The ice blindingly bright. UV radiation. Intense. You'd wear snow goggles. Theoretically. Sometimes you'd forget. Sometimes they'd break. Sometimes you'd think you'd be fine for just a few minutes. You were wrong. The UV would burn your corneas. You'd go blind, temporarily, painfully. Your eyes would feel like they were full of sand, of glass. You couldn't open them, couldn't see, couldn't function. You'd lie in your bunk in an agony, for days, waiting for your corneas to heal. They'd heal eventually. Usually sometimes they didn't. Sometimes the damage was permanent. You'd return from Antarctica, partially blind. This was the price of forgetting goggles. Scurvy was inevitable. No vitamin C, no fresh food. Your body would break down. Gums would bleed. Teeth would fall out. Old wounds would reopen. You'd bruise spontaneously. Bleed internally. Develop joint pain. Depression. Lethargy. The cure was fresh food. Vitamin C. You didn't have that. You had canned food, dried food, dead food, no vitamins. Scurvy would progress, kill you slowly. Unless you got lucky, found a seal, ate it fresh. The fresh meat would help, reverse some symptoms. You'd feel better for a while, until the meat ran out. Scurvy returned. This cycle continued. Fresh meat, recovery. No fresh meat, scurvy, repeat. All winter. Infections were dangerous, deadly. You'd get a cut, minor cut. It would get infected. No antibiotics. Antibiotics haven't been invented yet. The infection would spread. Your hand would swell, turn red, develop pus. The infection would travel up your arm, into your lymph nodes, into your blood poisoning. Sepsis. You'd develop a fever, delirium. Without treatment, you'd die. The treatment was amputation, cut off the infected limb, before the infection spreads further. This was done with basic tools, a saw, a knife. The aforementioned laudanum. You'd be awake, aware. You'd watch your hand being amputated to save your life. This happened multiple times to multiple explorers. They survived, missing hands, missing arms, but alive, infection-free. Eventually, psychological breakdown was the most common medical issue. The isolation, the darkness, the cold, the fear, the boredom, all combined to break minds. Men would develop severe depression, anxiety, paranoia. Some would become convinced the others were plotting against them. They'd accuse their companions, start fights, become violent. The others would restrain them, isolate them, keep them away from weapons. Wait for the episode to pass. Sometimes it passed, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes the madness was permanent. You'd return from Antarctica with a broken mind. Shell. Shocked. That is what they called it. Before PTSD had a name, Antarctic explorers had it. Severely. Let's talk about the interpersonal dynamics, because you were locked in a hut with 7 other men for 4 months, in the dark, in the cold, with no escape, no privacy, no break. This creates tensions. At first, everyone gets along. You are all explorers, all adventurers, all excited, optimistic, ready for the challenge. The first few weeks are fine, good even. You work together, eat together, share stories, play cards, read books. This is cozy. This is adventure. This is what you signed up for. Then the darkness continues, and continues, and continues. The novelty wears off. The stories become repetitive. You've heard everyone's stories, multiple times. You know everyone's jokes, their habits, their mannerisms, their annoying quirks. Everyone has annoying quirks. You notice all of them, focus on them, obsess over them. That guy who chews too loudly, that guy who snores, that guy who talks too much, that guy who doesn't talk enough. Everyone annoys you. You annoy everyone. This is mutual, communal, inevitable. The fights start, small at first. Arguments, disagreements, over nothing, over everything. Whose turn it is to cook, who used whose cup, who left the door open, trivial things. But you are stressed, depressed, angry, scared. The trivial things become important, worth fighting over, worth screaming over. The hut would echo with shouting. Daily, hourly, everyone fighting. About nothing, about everything. This was social life. This was entertainment. Some men would stop talking, silent treatment, refusing to speak to specific people. To everyone, they'd communicate through others. Tell him to pass the salt. He is sitting right there, 2 feet away. Tell him yourself. Number you tell him. This would continue for weeks. Grown men, educated men, scientists, explorers, refusing to speak to each other because of some perceived slight, some minor insult, some imagined offense. This was maturity. This was professionalism. This was what isolation did. Alliances would form, groups, cliques. In a hut with 8 people, you'd have factions. US versus them, this group versus that group. Over what? Nothing. Everything. Different nationalities, different backgrounds, different personalities, different sleeping schedules. Any difference became a division. Any division became a conflict. The hut would be split, divided, hostile. This was your home, your prison, your battlefield. Violence was rare but real. Men would fight, physically, punches, wrestling, over trivial things, over serious things, over nothing. The others would separate them, enforce calm. But the anger remained simmering, ready to explode again. Some expeditions had rules. Contracts signed before departure, promising to get along, to work together, to not murder each other. The fact that not murdering needed to be specified tells you everything about the risk, about the fear, about the reality of isolation. Sexual tension was acknowledged but unspoken. 8 men, no women, for months, years sometimes. The expeditions were all male by design. By social convention, by law in some cases, women weren't allowed. Too delicate, too weak, too inappropriate. The men would go without female companionship for years. This created complications, tensions, situations. These were never discussed openly, never documented officially. But they happened, between the lines of journals, in the silences, in the things not said. Antarctic closeness, Antarctic comfort, Antarctic survival, in all its forms. The male situation made everything worse, or better depending. Ships would arrive in summer, bringing mail, letters from home, from loved ones. You'd receive a letter from your wife, your children, written months ago, describing their lives, their normalcy, their warmth, their sunlight. You'd read it, cry, feel homesick, desperately homesick, want to leave, want to give up, want to go home, but you couldn't. The ship was leaving. You were staying. Another winter, more darkness, more cold, more suffering. The letters made it worse, reminded you of what you were missing, what you'd chosen to abandon. For what? For glory, for science, for pride. The reasons seemed inadequate, stupid, not worth the suffering. But you'd stay anyway, committed, trapped, suffering. Now let's talk about what you did all day, because time was endless, empty, void, 4 months of darkness. What do you do? Work was the main activity. Necessary work, survival work, cooking, cleaning, maintaining the hut, repairing equipment, processing data. If you were a scientist, recording observations, weather, temperature, ice conditions, this was important work, official work, expedition goals. You'd do this every day, religiously, because it gave structure, purpose, meaning. Without it, you'd have nothing, just darkness and waiting. That way led to madness. But work only filled so many hours, maybe 4. 6 if you were lucky. The rest of the time was empty. You'd read. If you had books, expeditions brought libraries, small libraries, maybe 50 books. For 8 men, for 4 months you'd read every book, multiple times. Some men read the same book 5 times, 10 times, memorized it, could recite passages. This wasn't dedication, this was desperation. Reading was escape, the only escape available. The selection of books mattered enormously. Bringing the right books could maintain morale. Bring the wrong books and problems. Scott's expedition brought serious literature, scientific texts, philosophy, heavy reading, dense, depressing. The men hated it, requested different books. Stuck with Dickens and Darwin. For 4 months, some men stopped reading, too depressing. The books made them feel worse, feel stupid, feel inadequate. This wasn't helpful. Shackleton's expedition brought popular fiction, adventure stories, light reading, humour. His men loved it, read constantly, stayed engaged, stayed sane. Shackleton understood psychology, entertainment value. Morale, his men survived better, not just physically, mentally, because they had good books. This seems trivial. It wasn't. Books were survival tools, as important as food, as warmth, maybe more important. Games were played, card games mainly, whist, bridge. Poker, you'd play for hours, days, continuously the same games, the same people. You'd know everyone's tells, everyone's strategies. The games became mechanical, automatic. You'd play without thinking, while thinking about other things, about home, about warmth, about the sun, about anything except where you were, what you were doing. The games were meditation, mindless, necessary, survival. Some expeditions had musical instruments, a gramophone, records. You'd play music, the same dozen records, over and over and over. The songs would become ingrained, permanent, stuck in your head, forever. Explorers would return home, hear a song from their Antarctic playlist, have instant PTSD, flashbacks to the darkness, the cold, the hut, the suffering. Music became traumatic. Associated with trauma, ruined. Some explorers never listened to music again, couldn't handle it. Too many memories, too many feelings. Silence was safer. Writing was common, journals, letters, scientific notes you'd write daily, documenting everything: the temperature, the wind, your thoughts, your feelings, your descent into madness. Some journals are beautiful, poetic, descriptive. Others are terse, factual, cold as the environment. Both types reveal suffering. Different types of suffering, different coping mechanisms. But suffering nonetheless. Exercise was attempted. Some expeditions had routines. Calisthenics, running in place, strength training, in a hut, in the dark, in the cold. This seems absurd. It was absurd. But it helped, physically, mentally, gave you something to do. Something to control. Your body was one thing you could control, maybe. Sort of you'd exercise. Feel slightly better, slightly more human, slightly less like a frozen statue waiting to die. This was worth the effort. The absurdity was irrelevant. Conversation was the main activity: talking, discussing, debating, arguing, about everything, about nothing. Politics, religion, science, philosophy, home, families, the past, the future, hypotheticals. You'd talk for hours until you'd exhausted every topic. Then you'd talk about the same topics again, different angle, same conclusions, repetitive, circular, endless. But it filled time, killed time, murdered time. This was the goal: make time pass somehow, any way possible. Sleep was attempted, often unsuccessful, but attempted. You'd climb into your frozen sleeping bag, lie in the dark. The hut was already dark. Closing your eyes changed nothing. You'd try to sleep, fail, lie awake. Listen to the wind, the ice, the other men. Think about everything, regret everything. Eventually exhaustion would win. You'd sleep fitfully, dream about home, about warmth, about the sun. Wake up, still in Antarctica, still dark, still cold. Repeat. This was every night. This was 4 months of nights. Let's talk about the specific physical deterioration in detail, because your body breaks down, systematically, piece by piece, system by system. Your weight drops dramatically. You are burning thousands of calories per Dalton Yoi, fighting the cold, working, existing. But you are not eating enough, can't eat enough. The food is limited. Your appetite is suppressed by depression, by altitude sickness, by stress. You eat less, burn more. The math is simple. You lose weight rapidly. 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds. Your clothes hang off you. Your face becomes gaunt, skeletal. Your eyes sink into your skull. You look like a corpse. Everyone looks like corpses. Walking corpses. Surviving corpses. But corpses, nonetheless. Your muscle mass disappears. Your body consumes it for energy, for survival. You become weak. Tasks that were easy become difficult. Difficult tasks become impossible. You struggle to lift things, to walk, to climb. Your muscles have been eaten by your own body. This is starvation, slow starvation. You are eating, but not enough. Your body knows, reacts, consumes itself. This is metabolic cannibalism. You are eating yourself. From the inside out, your skin changes, becomes dry, cracked, peeling. The cold dries it out. The wind sandblasts it. The lack of humidity destroys it. Your lips crack, bleed, crack deeper, bleed more. Your hands develop fissures, deep cracks, into the dermis. They bleed, fill with ice, never heal. Can't heal. The conditions prevent healing. You have permanent wounds for months. They hurt constantly. You ignore them. What choice do you have? Complaining changes nothing. Everyone has the same wounds. This is normal. This is Antarctic skin. Your hair changes too, becomes brittle, breaks, falls out. Malnutrition affects hair growth, stops it. Your hair stops growing, then starts falling out. Some men went partially bald during Antarctic winters. The hair grew back later. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes the cold damaged the follicles. Permanent damage. You'd return from Antarctica bald, prematurely bald, at 25. At 30, this was Antarctic aging. Rapid, permanent, visible. Your nails become brittle, crack, break, peel off in layers. Some men lost fingernails, toenails. The cold, the malnutrition, the constant moisture, then freezing. The nails couldn't handle it. They detach, fall off, leave raw nail beds, exposed, sensitive, painful. Your fingers would throb, constant throbbing. You'd wrap them, protect them, hope they healed, hope new nails grew. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes you came home with missing nails, permanently missing. This was acceptable. You had fingers. Missing nails was a small price. Your teeth suffered. Malnutrition, scurvy, cold. Bad combination. Your gums would recede. Bleed. Your teeth would loosen. Some would fall out. Not from old age. From nutritional deficiency. You'd be 30 years old. Losing teeth. Like an old man. Like your grandfather. But faster. More teeth. By the end of winter, you might be missing several. The gaps would whistle when you talked, when you breathed. This was Antarctic dentistry. Nature's extraction. Free. Unwanted. Permanent. Your eyesight deteriorated. The darkness. The eye strain from reading by candlelight. The snow blindness episodes all accumulated. Your vision would blur, colours would seem dull. Details would be hard to see. Some men needed glasses after returning. New glasses. Stronger prescriptions. The Antarctic had damaged their eyes. Permanently. Measurably. This was documented. Proven. Antarctic vision loss. A real condition. An expected outcome. Your hearing sometimes suffered. The wind. Constant. Loud. Screaming. For months. Damaged eardrums. Caused tinnitus. Ringing. Constant ringing. That never stopped. Some explorers had permanent tinnitus for life. After one Antarctic winter, the wind had broken something in their ears. Something that couldn't be fixed. They'd hear ringing forever. A permanent reminder. An eternal echo of the Antarctic wind. Your cardiovascular system struggled. The cold. The altitude. Antarctica is high. Most of the continent is above 7,000 feet elevation. Some bases are higher. You are living at altitude. In extreme cold, your heart has to work harder, pump harder, maintain circulation, prevent freezing. It does this for months, constantly. Never resting, never relaxing. Some men developed heart problems, irregular rhythms, enlarged hearts, chronic conditions, from the strain, from the stress, from surviving Antarctica. Your heart survived, but damaged, weakened. You'd live, but less well, less long. Antarctica took years off your life. Quietly, internally, invisibly. Let's discuss the return to civilization, because winter ends. Eventually the sun returns. Ships arrive. You are rescued, extracted, returned to the normal world, the warm world, the bright world. This should be wonderful. It is complicated. The sun's return is traumatic. You haven't seen the sun in 4 months. Your eyes have adapted to darkness, dilated pupils, maximum light gathering. Then suddenly, sun, bright, overwhelming, painful. You can't look at it. Can't open your eyes fully. The light hurts, physically hurts. You squint, cover your eyes, hide indoors. The sun, source of all life, has become your enemy. This is wrong. Backwards, disturbing. Your eyes need weeks to readapt, to remember how to handle light. To function normally during this period you are photosensitive. Wear dark glasses all the time. Indoors even. People think you are odd. You don't care. The light hurts. The glasses help. This is survival. Still survival, even after leaving Antarctica. The ship arrives. Rescue ship. You are going home. You pack your belongings. What is left of them? Most things have been destroyed, frozen, broken, consumed. You pack the survivors, your journal. Some photographs, your damaged equipment, your memories, your trauma. Everything fits in one bag. You came with 2. You leave with 1. This is Antarctic math. Subtraction. Always subtraction. The journey home is strange. Warm. The ship has heat. Real heat. From a boiler. The temperature inside is maybe 60 degrees Fahrenheit. This feels tropical. You are sweating. In 60-degree weather, your body has forgotten what warm means. Recalibrated for cold. 60 degrees is hot now. You open windows, the sailors think you are insane. You probably are. Antarctica does that. Changes your temperature perception. Permanently. Food is overwhelming. Real food. Fresh food. Variety. You eat. Cautiously at first. Your stomach has shrunk. Adapted to minimal food. Pemmican. Seal meat. Hardtack. Suddenly there is bread. Fresh bread. Vegetables, fruit. Meat that isn't seal. Your stomach rebels. Too much. Too rich. Too different. You get sick. Vomit. Diarrhea. Your body rejects normalcy. Prefers deprivation. You persist. Eat slowly. Small amounts. Eventually adapt. Eventually return to normal eating. But it takes time. Weeks. Months. Your digestive system has to remember, relearn, rehabilitate. Social interaction is difficult. You've been with the same 7 people for months. Yeah, maybe you know them completely, intimately, totally. Suddenly you're on a ship with dozens of new people. Strangers, they talk to you, ask questions, expect responses. You are not sure how to respond, how to socialize, how to be normal. You've forgotten, or never knew, Antarctica stripped away your social skills. Left you raw, awkward, broken. The sailors notice. Whisper, Antarctic explorers, strange bunch, they're right. You are strange now, changed, damaged. Antarctic. Arriving home is worse. Your family, your friends, they're excited. Happy you survived. You are home. They want to celebrate. Hear stories, understand what happened. You can't explain. Can't make them understand. How do you describe the cold, the darkness, the fear, the hunger, the desperation? Words are inadequate. They try to understand. Nod. Sympathize. They don't understand. Can't understand. Weren't there. Didn't experience it. The gap is unbridgeable. You are alone. Still alone, surrounded by people, but alone. More alone than in Antarctica. Because in Antarctica, everyone understood. Everyone shared the suffering. Here, no one understands. No one can. You are isolated. In civilization. In warmth. In light. Still isolated. You sleep badly every night. Nightmares. Dreams of Antarctica. The cold. The dark. You wake up, panic. Think you are still there. Still trapped. Then realize you are home. Safe. Warm. The relief is temporary. You fall asleep. Dream again. This cycle continues. For months. Years, some explorers for life. Antarctic dreams. Antarctic nightmares. Inescapable. Permanent. Your relationships suffer. Your wife. Your children. You left them. For Antarctica. For glory. For science. For reasons that now seem inadequate. They resent your absence. Your choice. You resent their lack of understanding. Their normal lives. Their warmth. Their safety. They didn't suffer. Don't understand suffering. This creates distance, resentment, divorce. Some explorers' marriages failed, broken by Antarctica, by the distance. Physical and emotional. Irreparable. Your career suffers too, unless you are famous, unless your expedition succeeded, discovered something, achieved goals. If you failed, you are nobody. A failure, an expensive failure. Funding agencies don't want to hear about survival, about suffering, about barely making it home. They want discoveries. Results. Success. You have frostbite scars and trauma. That is not marketable, not fundable, not valuable. You struggle to find work, to find purpose, to find meaning. What do you do after Antarctica? What can you do? Everything else seems trivial, meaningless, pointless. You've survived the worst. Everything else is easy, too easy, boring. You are ruined for normal life, ruined by Antarctica. Some explorers went back, multiple expeditions. Not because they loved Antarctica, because they couldn't function anywhere else. Antarctica broke them, then became the only place they fit. Tragic, inevitable, real. Let's talk about the ones who didn't make it. Because not everyone survived. Many died. Frozen, starved, crushed, lost. The unlucky ones. The unfortunate ones. The dead ones. Some died in blizzards, walked out of the hut. For various reasons needed to check equipment, collect samples, use the bathroom. The blizzard would hit, sudden, violent. Visibility 0. They'd get disoriented. Lost. 5 feet from the hut. 10 feet. Couldn't find their way back. Would wander. Call for help. The wind would steal their voice. The others wouldn't hear, couldn't hear. The person would freeze. Die. 10 feet from safety. From warmth. From life. Their body would be found later. After the storm, frozen solid, covered in snow, barely visible, barely human, just a lump of ice that used to be a person. This happened regularly. Multiple expeditions, multiple deaths, all preventable, all unavoidable, all tragic. Some died in crevasses, fell through snow bridges into cracks in the ice. The crevasses in Antarctica are enormous. Hundreds of feet deep, miles long. Hidden under thin snow bridges you'd walk across. The bridge would collapse. You'd fall hundreds of feet into darkness. The fall would kill you. Or the cold would. You'd be trapped, injured, freezing, alone. In the dark, in the ice. You'd die slowly. Knowing rescue was impossible. Too deep, too far, too dangerous. Your body would stay there, in the crevasse, frozen, preserved, forever. Ice tomb, Antarctic burial, permanent. Some bodies are still there, still in the ice, still frozen. 100 years later, waiting. Not for rescue. Rescue won't come. Just waiting, being dead, being ice, being Antarctic. Some died from injury, crushed by ice, by equipment, by accidents. The ice moved, shifted, crushed structures, crushed people. You'd be working. The ice would move, unpredictably, violently. Tons of ice. Moving fast, crushing. You'd die, instantly, or slowly trapped. Crushed, bleeding, freezing. The others would try to help, couldn't help. The ice was too heavy, the injury too severe. You'd die, they'd watch, helpless. Guilty, grateful it wasn't them. This survivor's guilt would haunt them forever. Why him? Why not me? No answers, just randomness. Just ice, just death. Some died from disease, infection, appendicitis, heart attacks. Medical emergencies that would be treatable on land, in hospitals. But in Antarctica, untreatable. Terminal, you'd develop appendicitis. Your appendix would rupture, peritonitis, sepsis. You'd die. Slowly, painfully. Over days. The others would watch. Give you laudanum. Make you comfortable. Wait for death. It would come, inevitably. They bury you in the ice. Wrapped in canvas. Shallow grave. The ice wouldn't allow deep graves. Too hard. Too frozen. They'd stack rocks on top. Cairn Memorial. Mar. This is where he is buried. This is where he died. This is Antarctica. This is what happens. The memorial crosses were simple. Wood, 2 pieces, nailed together, planted in the ice, with a plaque, name, date. Died during the Antarctic expedition. Simple, factual, sad. The crosses would stand for years. Decades slowly weathering, slowly breaking, eventually falling, lost to ice. To wind, to time. The dead were forgotten. Mostly. Some were remembered, documented, studied. Most were just dead, anonymous. Antarctic casualties. Statistics. Nothing more. Let's talk about specific Antarctic horrors we haven't covered. Because there are more. Always more. Antarctica is full of ways to suffer. Ways to die. Ways to go insane. The hoosh pots. We mentioned hoosh. The pemmican stew. The pots it was cooked in were communal. Shared. 8 men eating from one pot. With 1 spoon. Or multiple spoons. But shared spoons, the pots were never truly cleaned. Rinsed, maybe, with snow, with ice. Not cleaned. Grease would accumulate, old food particles, residue. The pots would become biological hazards, disease vectors. Everyone eating from the same contaminated pot. Getting sick, spreading illness. This was normal. This was how meals worked. Communal contamination. Communal disease. Communal suffering. The inside of the hut would frost. We mentioned this, but not the implications. The frost would be everywhere. Walls, ceiling, floor, everything coated in ice. You'd touch the wall accidentally. Your hand would stick. Ice would transfer to your skin. Burn, frost burn. Not frostbite. Frost burn from touching the inside of your shelter, the place that is supposed to protect you. Your hand would burn. You'd pull away. Leave skin behind. This was indoor life. This was shelter. Dangerous shelter. Hostile shelter. Barely shelter. The condensation would drip. The ice on the ceiling would warm slightly. When you cooked. When you breathed, it would melt. Partially, the melt would drip onto you. While you slept. While you ate. Ice water. Dripping. Constantly. Onto your head. Your food. Your belongings. Everything would be damp. Frozen. Covered in ice particles. You'd accept this. Stop noticing. Stop caring. Ice water on your head. Normal. Fine. Antarctic normal. The psychological impact of sameness. Every day identical. Wake up. Dark. Eat. Dark. Work. Dark. Red. Dark. Sleep. Dark. Repeat. For months. No variation. No change. No improvement. Just repetition. Endless. Mindless. Soul-crushing repetition. This broke people mentally. They'd lose track of time, of days, of identity. Become automata, going through motions, not thinking, not feeling, not living, just existing, waiting, For what? For it to end. For the sun. For escape. For death. Whatever came first. The sounds at night. The ice would crack. Loudly. The temperature changes would stress the ice. Create cracks. Large cracks. The sound was like gunshots. Like explosions. You'd wake up. Panic. Think the ice was breaking. Think you were dying. Then realize just the ice cracking. Settling. Normal Antarctic sounds. You'd go back to sleep. Wake up an hour later. Another crack. Another panic. This happened every night. Multiple times. You never got used to it. Never slept deeply. Never rested fully. Always on edge. Always waiting for the next crack. The next sound. The next panic. The wind noises were worse. The wind would scream. Not metaphorically. Literally scream. The sound would be human-like. Like someone crying. Screaming. In agony. You'd hear it. Think someone was outside. In trouble. You'd check. Nobody there. Just wind. But the sound persisted. All night. Every night. Screaming wind. Crying wind. Human wind. This was disturbing. Deeply disturbing. You'd lie awake, listening to the wind scream. Wonder if you were going insane. Wonder if the sound was real, or in your head, or both. No way to know. No way to escape. Just wind. And screaming. And madness. The isolation from all news. No radio. No telegraph. No communication with the outside world. You were cut off. Completely. For months. Sometimes over a year. You didn't know what was happening. Wars could start. End. Governments could fall. Family could die. You wouldn't know. Couldn't know. The last news you received was months old. The next news would be months away. You existed in a bubble. Temporal bubble. Information void. This was disorienting. Frightening. You'd imagine the worst. Worry constantly. About everything. About nothing. No way to know. No way to check. Just worry. And wait. And suffer. Now let's talk about the modern perspective. How we view these explorers now. What we've learned. What is changed. What hasn't. We romanticize Antarctic exploration. The heroic age. The brave men. The noble suffering. We build statues. Write books. Make documentaries. We celebrate their achievement. Their survival. Their sacrifice. This is good. They deserve recognition, respect, admiration. But we forget the suffering, the real suffering, the daily, boring, terrible suffering. We remember the glory, forget the horror. Modern Antarctic research is different, completely different. The bases are warm, heated, insulated. Triple pane windows. Central heating. The temperature inside is 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Comfortable. The researchers wear t-shirts. Indoors. This seems impossible. Would seem like fantasy to Scott, to Shackleton. They froze in their shelters. Modern researchers are comfortable. The technology gap is enormous. Unfair. Life-saving. The food is normal. Modern food, frozen fresh. Varied. There is a kitchen. A cook. Multiple meals. Options. Dietary restrictions accommodated. The researchers eat well. Gain weight sometimes. This is opposite to the heroic age, where everyone lost weight. Everyone starved. The modern researchers don't starve. Don't freeze. Don't lose toes. This is progress. Obvious. Enormous. Important progress. Communication is constant. Internet, satellite phones, email, video calls. The modern researchers talk to home, daily, hourly if they want. See their families, via video. This seems normal to them. Would seem like magic to early explorers. They went months without news, without contact, died without sending final messages. The modern researchers call home, complain about the food, the isolation, the boredom. The early explorers would laugh. Bitter laugh. You are complaining about boredom. Try freezing. Try starving. Try darkness. Try real suffering. Your boredom is luxury. Your complaints are privilege. You are fine. You are comfortable. You are safe. This is Antarctica solved. Antarctica tamed. Antarctica domesticated. But some things haven't changed. The cold is the same. The darkness is the same. The isolation somewhat. The modern researchers still experience winter. Still face darkness. Still feel alone. Just less. Much less. But not zero. Antarctica still tests you. Still finds your breaking point. Different breaking point. Higher threshold. But still there. Still real. Antarctica hasn't surrendered completely. Just adapted. Allowed humans to visit. Under controlled conditions. with modern equipment, with support, with escape. Antarctica tolerates us now, doesn't welcome us. Tolerance, that is progress. We should remember the explorers, the early ones, the freezing ones, the suffering ones. They paved the way literally, created maps, established bases, gathered data, died gathering data, died proving it was possible, barely possible. But possible, their suffering enabled our comfort, their deaths enabled our safety. We owe them everything, our knowledge, our presence, our survival in Antarctica. Built on their frozen bodies, their lost toes, their broken minds. We should remember, should honor, should never forget what it cost, who paid, how much they suffered. So the next time you are cold, remember, you are not Antarctic cold. You are regular cold, fixable cold, go inside. Turn on heat, warm up. This is luxury, this is modern. This is what the explorers dreamed of, died wanting, never experienced. You have it. You have everything they wanted. Heat, light, food, safety, communication, comfort, all of it. You have it all. Because they suffered, because they froze, because they persisted, because they survived. Barely, but survived. Antarctic winter is still the worst place on Earth. Still the coldest. Still the darkest. Still the most isolated. But it is survivable. Now with modern technology, modern knowledge, modern support, it wasn't survivable. Then, not comfortably, not safely, not sanely, but they survived anyway, through force of will, through stubbornness, through luck, through desperation, they survived. And that is remarkable. That is heroic. That is worth remembering, worth honoring, worth never forgetting. Because you wouldn't last, not then, not in their conditions with their equipment, their food, their knowledge. You'd die, probably quickly, certainly miserably within days, maybe weeks. But not months, not the full winter. You don't have what they had. The hardness, the resilience, the willingness to suffer, the acceptance of suffering. You are soft. We're all soft. Compared to them, compared to Antarctic explorers, compared to the men who survived the worst winter on Earth and lived to tell about it, lived to lose toes, lived to go insane, but lived. That is what matters. That is what we remember they lived. Against impossible odds, against nature, against Antarctica itself, they lived. And that is remarkable. This is Antarctic winter survival. This is what explorers endured. This is what you need to know. This is what they suffered. For science, for glory, for no good reason at all, they suffered. They survived. Some of them, the others died. Frozen alone, in the dark, in the cold, in Antarctica, the worst place. The coldest place, the darkest place. The place that wants you dead, and sometimes gets its wish. But not always. Sometimes humans win, sometimes stubbornness wins, sometimes survival wins. This is Antarctica, this is exploration. This is the truth. Cold, dark, terrible. True. And you should appreciate what you have right now. Warmth, light, safety, food, comfort. All the things they didn't have, all the things they dreamed of, all the things they died wanting. You have them, all of them, because of them, because they went first, because they suffered, because they showed it was possible, barely possible, but possible. You should remember them, honor them, appreciate them, and maybe complain a little less about the cold, about the dark, about minor discomforts. Because compared to Antarctic winter, you have it easy. We all do. And we should never forget that. Let's talk about a typical day in Antarctic winter, because calling it a day is generous when there is no daylight. But you maintain the fiction. Wake at 8 a.m. Even though 8 a.m. looks identical to 8 p.m., looks identical to 2 a.m. Just darkness, endless darkness. You wake up in your frozen sleeping bag, or rather, you've been lying awake for hours because actual sleep is impossible when you are this cold. But 8 a.m. is when you officially acknowledge consciousness. Time to start another day of survival. Breaking out of the sleeping bag takes 15 minutes. The bag has frozen to the wall, frozen to the bunk, frozen to itself. You are encased in ice. You have to crack the ice. Physically crack it. Like breaking out of a cocoon. Except cocoons are supposed to lead to transformation. This just leads to more suffering. The sound of ice cracking echoes through the hut. Everyone else is doing the same thing. 8 men simultaneously breaking themselves free from their frozen sleeping bags. The symphony of survival. Crack, crack, pop. Someone curses. They've torn their bag. Again, That is another repair needed. Another task on the endless list. You finally extract yourself. Sit up, hit your head on the bunk above. Stars explode in your vision. You curse. The man in the bunk above curses back. You've woken him by hitting his bed. He has been awake for hours too. But the convention is to pretend to sleep until 8 a.m. You've violated the convention. Social friction begins before you are even fully conscious. Your feet hit the floor. The floor is ice. Not metaphorically, literally ice. The moisture in the hut condenses and freezes on every surface. The floor has a layer of frost. Walking on it in bare feet would cause instant frostbite. You are wearing your boots. You've slept in your boots. You sleep in all your clothes. Taking them off would mean freezing. But sleeping in boots means your feet are compressed, sore, probably developing circulation problems. Another losing choice in a series of losing choices. You stand. Your joints protest. They've been cramped in the sleeping bag all night. Such as it was. Your back aches from the hard wooden bunk. Your neck is stiff. Your shoulders hurt. You are 28 years old and you feel 80. This is what Antarctica does. Ages you rapidly, visibly. The hut is dark, completely dark. Someone lights a candle. The tiny flame creates a small sphere of light, maybe 3 feet in diameter. Beyond that, darkness. You can see the person holding the candle. Nothing else. The darkness is absolute, oppressive, physical. The candle reveals their face. Gaunt, hollow, eyed. Bearded because shaving is impossible. The beard is crusted with ice. From breath, from moisture. Ice hangs in icicles from the beard. This is normal appearance. Everyone looks like this. Skeletal ice zombies. Technically, alive. Breakfast is pemmican again. Always you are so tired of pemmican you could weep. But weeping would freeze your tears to your face. So you don't weep. You just eat the pemmican. Mechanically without tasting it. Tasting would make it worse. The cook heats water for hoosh. This requires lighting the stove. The stove lighting is a production. A ritual. The most important event of the day. The coal supply is dwindling. You are rationing strictly. 2 hours of fire in the morning. 2 hours in the evening. 4 hours of warmth. Per Dalton Y. 20 hours of freezing. This is the equation that governs your life. The cook approaches the stove with reverence. He is the most important person in the hut. More important than the expedition leader. The leader has authority. The cook has fire. Fire is God in Antarctica. The cook is its priest. He arranges the coal carefully, counts the pieces, calculates. This many pieces should burn for exactly 2 hours. Not a minute more. Every piece is precious. Every piece is survival. The kindling is seal blubber. It burns hot and fast, creates black smoke that smells like burning hair and fish. The smell fills the hut instantly. Everyone starts coughing. But the blubber catches. The coal ignites. Heat begins. The stove is cast iron. It radiates heat slowly. The area within 5 feet of the stove becomes bearable. Not warm. Bearable. The temperature might reach 40 degrees. This feels tropical compared to the rest of the hut. Everyone clusters around the stove. 8 men trying to fit into a 5-foot radius. Jostling, pushing, competing for warmth. Social hierarchy manifests. The stronger men get closer. The weaker men get pushed to the periphery. Darwin in action. The cook heats water. Melting ice, actually. There is no liquid water. Everything is ice. He puts chunks of ice in a pot. The pot goes on the stove. The ice begins to melt. This takes time. More time than you'd think. The ice is negative 40 degrees. It has to warm up 72 degrees before it even starts melting. Physics is cruel in Antarctica. While waiting for water, you observe your companions. Really look at them. See them clearly in the firelight. Jenkins has lost more weight. His cheekbones are sharp enough to cut paper. His eyes are sunken, hollow. He is not eating enough. Depression has killed his appetite. He is wasting away, slowly, visibly. Give him another month, and he might not survive. Peterson's hands are blackening. Frostbite, advanced. The fingers on his left hand are grey to the second knuckle. Dead tissue. He is going to lose those fingers. Everyone knows it. He knows it. He keeps flexing them, trying to restore circulation. It won't work. The tissue is dead. But he tries anyway. Hope dies last. Usually, just before the person does. McGregor is talking to himself, muttering. A constant stream of words too quiet to make out. He has been doing this for weeks. Conversations with people who aren't there. His dead brother, apparently. He has long discussions with his dead brother about sheep farming in Scotland. This would be concerning, except everyone's having similar conversations. Madness is communal. The water finally boils. The cook adds pemmican chunks. They float in the boiling water like greasy icebergs. The fat melts, creates an oil slick on the water's surface. The meat fibers separate, create stringy strands floating in the oil. This is hoosh. This is breakfast. The cook ladles hoosh into cups, metal cups. You learn not to touch the cup's metal handle. Touch it and your skin freezes to it. Stick to it. You wrap your sleeve around the handle, hold the cup carefully. The hoosh is scalding hot. Steam rises. You inhale it. The warm vapor in your lungs feels incredible. Better than the hoosh will taste. You sip carefully. The hoosh burns your mouth. You don't care. The warmth is worth the pain. The hot liquid travels down into your stomach. You feel it warm you from the inside, spreading heat. For a few minutes, you are actually warm. This is the best part of the day. These few minutes of internal warmth. You savor them, knowing they won't last. The hoosh tastes like greasy meat water, because that is what it is. The flavor is simultaneously bland and overwhelming. Bland because it is the same thing every day. Overwhelming because the rendered fat coats your mouth. Clings to your teeth. You'll taste it for hours. But it is calories, dense calories, fat and protein. Your body needs them desperately. You drink every drop. Scrape the cup with your finger. Lick the grease. Waste nothing. Every calorie matters. Every calorie is survival. Breakfast is done. The most exciting part of the day is over. Now comes the long stretch, the endless hours until dinner. What do? Work. Theoretically. Scientific work, data collection. The official purpose of the expedition. Recording temperature, wind speed, barometric pressure. Magnetic readings. This is important work. This is why you are here. This data will advance human knowledge. That is what you tell yourself. As you sit in the dark recording that it is still dark, still cold, still terrible. The temperature reading requires going outside. Someone has to do it. The thermometer is mounted on the exterior wall. You volunteer, not from enthusiasm, from duty, fair rotation. Your turn. You prepare for outside. This is a procedure, a ritual. Mistakes kill you. First, check your clothing. Your coat buttons must all work. You button them. Test each one. A loose button means a gap. A gap means wind penetration. Wind penetration means frostbite. You've learned this. Everyone has, usually through painful experience. Your mittens are crucial, not gloves. Gloves separate the fingers. Separated fingers freeze individually. Mittens keep fingers together. Shared warmth. Your mittens are sealskin. Fur on the inside. They're stiff from frozen sweat, but they're thick. They'll protect your hands for a while. Your face covering is a wool scarf, wrapped around your face, over your nose, over your mouth, leaving only your eyes exposed. Even your eyes might freeze, but you need to see, so you leave them exposed. Accept the risk. The door opening is an event. Opening the door lets cold air rush in. Everyone complains. You have to be fast. Open exit. Close. Minimize the cold intrusion. Except the door is frozen shut. Always frozen shut. The moisture freezes the door to the frame. You have to break the ice seal. Kick the door. Hard. Several times. The ice cracks. The door opens. Cold air explodes into the hut. A wave of negative 40-degree air. Everyone recoils. Cursing. You step through. Pull the door shut behind you. The door freezes again immediately. You are now locked out. You'll have to break in when you return. This is normal. Outside is black, not dark. Black, the absence of light is total. You can't see anything. Your eyes are open. They register nothing. You might as well be blind. You know where the thermometer is. You've been to it dozens of times. You navigate by memory, by feel. 3 steps forward. Turn right. 2 more steps. Reach out. Your mitten touches the wall. You found it. You slide your hand along the wall. Searching, there. The thermometer mount. You have a candle lantern. You light it. The flame gutters in the wind. Nearly goes out. You cup your hand around it. Protect it. The flame stabilizes. Gives off weak light. Maybe enough to read the thermometer. You hold the lantern close. The thermometer is frosted over. You can't see the mercury column, you breathe on it. Try to melt the frost with your breath. Your breath freezes immediately, creates more frost. Counterproductive. You try scraping the frost with your mitten. This works better. The ice scrapes off. The mercury column is visible. -52 degrees Fahrenheit. You note this. Memorize it. You'll record it when you get inside. If you get inside, every trip outside carries risk. Risk of getting lost. Risk of falling. Risk of just freezing. Standing still for too long. Not making it back. You've been outside for 2 minutes. Your face hurts. The cold is biting through the scarf, finding skin, attacking it. Your cheeks burn. Not from heat, from cold. Cold so intense it mimics burning. Frostbite beginning, you need to get back inside. You turn back to the door. It is invisible. The darkness has swallowed it. You know it is there. Approximately. You take 3 steps in what you think is the right direction. Reach out. Nothing. Empty air. You've miscalculated. You are lost. Panic flares. You are 10 feet from safety, maybe. And you are lost. The darkness is disorienting. Completely disorienting. You have no reference points, no landmarks, just black. You stop. Force yourself to think. The wind. The wind comes from a consistent direction. You can use it to orient. The door is upwind from the thermometer. You turn into the wind. Walk slowly, arms outstretched, searching. Your hand hits wood, the wall. Relief floods through you. You slide your hand along the wall, searching for the door. There, the door frame, the door salvation. You pound on the door. Someone inside opens it. You stumble through, into relative warmth, into light, into safety. You've survived another temperature reading. The data, -52 degrees. The cost, 2 minutes of terror. The value, questionable, but it is your job. So you do it. Inside, you write down the temperature. Add it to the logbook. The logbook contains 4 months of data points, all saying the same thing. Cold, dark, terrible. Future scientists will study this data, learn from it. You are suffering for science. This thought doesn't help, but it is all you have. The rest of the morning stretches out, hours until lunch. What do you do? Read, if you have books, if you haven't read them all already. The expedition brought 50 books. For 8 men, for 4 months. You've read them all. Some twice. The good ones 3 times. Now you are reading them again, because what else is there? You are currently reading Darwin, on the origin of species. This is your 4th time through. The irony is not lost, reading about survival of the fittest while barely surviving yourself. Darwin would find this fascinating, an experiment in natural selection, which expedition members are fit enough to survive Antarctic winter. You'll find out, eventually, some might not make it. The weak will be selected against. Nature is cruel, doubly cruel in Antarctica. The reading is difficult. The light is poor. 1 candle for the whole hut. You have to sit close to it. Even then the light flickers. The text swims in and out of focus. Your eyes hurt. Strain. Watering from the smoke and the effort. But reading is escape. Mental escape. The only escape available. Others are playing cards. Whist. They've been playing every day for months. The same 4 people. The same game. Everyone knows everyone's strategies. The game is mechanical. Automatic. They play without thinking. Without caring who wins. Just moving cards. Filling time. Murdering time to death. Someone is writing a letter to his wife. Back in England. The letter won't be sent for months. Not until a ship arrives in spring. He knows this. Writes anyway. Pages and pages. Describing every detail of Antarctic life. The cold. The dark. The suffering. He writes for hours every day. The letter has become a journal. A record. A way to preserve sanity. As long as he is writing to his wife, she is real. Home is real. Life beyond Antarctica is real. The letter proves it. He clings to this. Desperately. Someone else is conducting maintenance. Repairing equipment. A broken harness strap. Stitching it with frozen hands. The thread doesn't want to cooperate. It is stiff. Brittle, breaks frequently. He curses. Rethreads the needle. Tries again. This simple repair will take hours. Everything takes hours in the cold. Your hands don't work properly. The materials don't cooperate. Simple becomes complicated. Complicated becomes impossible. Someone is just lying in their bunk, staring at the ceiling, at the ice stalactites, doing nothing, thinking nothing, existing in a state of minimal consciousness. Depression has taken him. He has stopped fighting, just waiting for winter to end or for himself to end, whichever comes first. The others leave him alone. What can they do? You can't force someone to care. You can't cure Antarctic depression. You just hope he makes it. Hope he finds the will to survive. Hope is all you have. You finish a chapter of Darwin. Put the book down. Your eyes need rest. The strain is too much. You sit in the darkness. Eyes closed. But closing your eyes changes nothing. Same darkness. Eyes open or closed makes no difference. This realization is disturbing. You open your eyes just to prove you can still tell the difference. You can barely. Lunch is the same as breakfast. Pemmican hoosh. The cook lights the stove again. Burns precious coal. Heats water. Adds pemmican. Everyone crowds around the stove. Eats their portion. The warmth, the brief warmth, makes it worthwhile. Almost. Afternoon. More of the same. More reading. More cards. More equipment maintenance. More lying in bunks, staring at nothing. The hours crawl. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel like days. Time has lost all meaning. Exists only as something to be endured. Someone starts a fight over nothing. Over somebody looking at someone else wrong. Tensions explode. Fists fly. The others separate them. Force them apart. Calm is restored, but the anger remains. Simmering. Ready to explode again. This happens weekly. Sometimes daily. 8 men in close quarters for months. With no escape, no privacy, no relief. Violence is inevitable. Expected. Part of the routine. Dinner is pemmican hoosh. Again, you are shocked. Shocked that it is the same thing you've eaten twice already today. Every day for months, your sarcasm is running on fumes. Like everything else. After dinner, the evening stretches out. The longest part of the day. The darkest hours. Metaphorically and literally. This is when the depression hits hardest, when the isolation feels most intense, when survival feels most questionable. Someone suggests singing, sea shanties, songs from home, everyone agrees, anything to fill the silence, to combat the darkness, to feel human. The singing starts badly. Everyone is out of practice, out of tune. The words are half remembered, the melody struggles, but it is something. It is communal, it is human. For a few minutes, you are not just suffering individuals. You are a group, a crew, a team, suffering together. This helps. Slightly, barely, but marginally, better than suffering alone. The singing ends, the brief elevation of mood crashes. Everyone feels worse now. The contrast makes the reality sharper, more painful. The singing was a reminder of normal life, of civilization, of everything you don't have, everything you might never have again. Bedtime is 10 p.m. Not because you are tired, you are always tired, but because going to bed means this day is over. One day closer to spring, one day closer to survival, or one day closer to death. Depends on perspective. You climb into your frozen sleeping bag. Begin the struggle. Break the ice. Force yourself in. The bag is freezing. You are freezing. Together you'll generate minimal warmth, maybe. Eventually, if you survive the next few hours. You lie in the dark, listening to 7 other men doing the same, shivering, shifting, coughing, the sounds of communal survival. This is every night. This will be every night for weeks more, months. You try not to think about it. Thinking makes it worse. You close your eyes. Try to sleep. Know that sleep won't come for hours, that you'll lie here, freezing, miserable, until exhaustion finally wins. This is your life. This is Antarctic winter. This is what you volunteered for, and tomorrow you'll do it all again. Let's talk about specific frostbite cases, real people, real damage, real consequences, because the horror is in the details, the specifics, the names. Henry Bowers, Scott's Terra Nova expedition. Responsible man, competent, reliable. The kind of person you want on your team. He lost his nose. Not metaphorically, his actual nose. Most of it. The frostbite started in July. Middle of winter, darkest month, coldest month. Bowers was outside securing supplies during a blizzard. Wind chill was around -100. His face scarf slipped. Just for a moment, maybe 10 seconds, the wind hit his nose. Direct exposure. That was enough. He felt the tingling immediately. tried to warm his nose with his hand, but his hands were equally cold, couldn't generate enough heat. The tingling became numbness, then nothing. His nose was gone, sensory gone, still attached, but functionally dead. He went back inside. The others looked at his nose, shook their heads. The nose was white, bone white, already frost, hardened, dead tissue, nothing to be done. They wrapped it, kept it clean, waited. Over the next week, the nose turned colours, white to yellow, yellow to grey, grey to black. The progression was documented, photographed. Scientific record of tissue death. Bowers watched his nose die, day by day, in the mirror, watching part of his face become necrotic. This was his reality. The black tissue hardened, mummified, became like leather. Dead leather stuck to his face. It didn't hurt. Dead tissue doesn't hurt. But it was disturbing, looking in the mirror. Seeing a black, mummified nose where a normal nose should be. This was his appearance now. This was what Antarctica had done to him. The nose tissue eventually detached, 3 weeks after the initial frostbite. Bowers was lying in his bunk, felt something loosen, touched his face. The nose came off in his hand. He was holding his own nose, detached, dead, no longer part of him. He showed it to the others. Gallows humour. And Yon want a nose? Nobody laughed. It wasn't funny. It was horrifying. But humour was a coping mechanism. The only mechanism available. Bowers survived the winter, made it to spring, helped with the polar journey, then died on the return from the pole. Froze to death with Scott, 11 miles from safety. At least he didn't need his nose anymore. Small consolation, very small. Titus Oates, same expedition, famous for his death. I am just going outside and maybe some time. Walked into a blizzard to die, so the others might survive. Heroic sacrifice. Noble, remembered forever. What is less remembered, his feet, before the sacrifice, before the famous exit. Oates had severe frostbite, on both feet. All his toes were dead, black mummified. Walking was agony. Every step was torture. But he walked anyway, pulled his weight on the sledging team, for weeks, on dead feet, on toes that were literally falling off. Some did fall off, left in his boots. He'd take off his boots at night, find detached toes inside, casually remove them, set them aside, keep going. The others knew he was suffering, knew his feet were destroyed. Oates never complained, never asked for special treatment, just kept walking, on his ruined feet, day after day, mile after mile. Finally, when he couldn't continue, when he became a burden, he chose death, walked out, didn't come back. His body was never found, buried somewhere in Antarctic ice, still there, still frozen, still dead. His feet, what remained of them, were with him. The dead toes that had fallen off earlier, those were left behind, found later by recovery teams. Scattered in the tent, small black pieces of Titus, Oates, mummified digits. All that remained of parts of him, grim souvenirs of Antarctic survival. Apsley Cherry, Garrard, the worst journey in the world. Cape Crozier winter journey. 3 men, 5 weeks, to collect emperor penguin eggs for science. In Antarctic winter, in darkness, in the coldest conditions ever attempted. Cherry, Garrard lost teeth to the cold, not from frostbite, from chattering. His jaw shivered so violently for so long that teeth cracked, chipped, broke. He'd spit out tooth fragments, pieces of his teeth, gone, his mouth bleeding from the broken teeth, the blood freezing on his lips. He kept going. His sleeping bag gained 45 pounds of ice over the journey. He documented this. Weighed the bag before and after. 45 pounds of frozen moisture. From his body, his breath accumulating in the bag, making it heavier, stiffer, harder to get into and out of. Getting into the frozen sleeping bag took an hour. Every night, 1 hour of struggle, fighting the rigid, frozen fabric, forcing it open, forcing himself in. 1 hour of exhausting labour just to go to bed. And the bag didn't even keep him warm. It was frozen solid, like sleeping in a fabric coffin, filled with ice. Cherry, Garrard survived, made it back, wrote a book about it. The worst journey in the world. The title is accurate. He lived decades more, never fully recovered, psychologically, physically. The journey broke something in him, something that never healed. He gave his youth to Antarctic science, got nightmares and broken teeth in return. Xavier Mertz, Mawson's expedition, Swiss mountaineer, experienced, capable, professional. He died eating dogs, not from starvation, from poisoning. The dog liver poisoned him. Mertz and Mawson were on a sledging journey. Their companion Ninnis fell into a crevasse, died, took most of their food with him. Mertz and Mawson had to walk back 300 miles. With minimal food they ate the dogs. Had to. No choice. The dogs were food or death. They chose food. The dog meat was tough, stringy, but edible. The liver, they thought, was nutritious, organ meat, rich in vitamins. They ate it, cooked it carefully, consumed it. This was their mistake, their fatal mistake. Husky liver contains extreme levels of vitamin A, hypervitaminosis A, toxic levels. The vitamin A accumulates in the liver, concentrated. Dangerous. One dog liver contains enough vitamin A to poison a human. They ate several. Mertz got sick first. Nausea, dizziness, skin problems. The skin on his face started peeling, in sheets, like sunburn, but worse. The skin sloughed off in large patches, raw flesh underneath, bleeding, exposed. Then his hair started falling out, clumps of hair coming out when he touched it. His scalp visible through the thinning hair. He was balding rapidly. From poisoning, his gums swelled, bleeding gums. His teeth loosened. Some fell out. His mouth was a bloody mess. Eating became agonizing, but he had to eat, had to keep moving, had to survive. The skin peeling continued, spread. His hands, his arms, his torso, everywhere. The skin was coming off, sloughing away. He was shedding his skin like a snake, but snakes grow new skin underneath. Mertz had raw flesh, exposed, vulnerable, infected. He became delirious. The vitamin A toxicity affected his brain. He raved. Hallucinated, became violent. Mawson had to restrain him, tie him down. Mertz fought, screamed, didn't recognize Mawson, thought he was an enemy, a demon, something to fight. Mertz died, in the tent, tied down, delirious, his skin peeling off, his hair gone, his teeth loose, poisoned by vitamins, killed by nutrition. The irony is bitter. They ate the liver to stay healthy, to get vitamins. The vitamins killed him. Mawson buried him in the ice. Shallow grave, best he could do alone, then continued walking. Alone, still poisoned. He had eaten the liver too, but less. He was suffering the same symptoms. Milder, he might die too, probably would die. But he walked anyway. Mawson's skin peeled off his feet, the soles of his feet completely, the entire sole. In one piece, he documented this, described it in his journal. The skin just separated, came off like a sock, leaving raw meat, exposed flesh. No protection. He wrapped his feet in bandages made from tent fabric. Anything available wrapped the raw flesh. Then put his boots back on, kept walking. For weeks. On raw feet, every step was torture. The exposed flesh rubbing against bandages, against boots, bleeding. But he walked, because stopping meant dying. He chose not dying. Mawson survived alone, against all odds, made it back to base. Barely. Looked like a corpse, walking corpse. He'd lost half his body weight. His skin was peeling. His hair was gone. His feet were raw meat, but alive. Technically alive. He missed the rescue ship by hours. Had to stay another winter, another year in Antarctica. This would break most men. Mawson just endured. Survived the second winter. Finally escaped. Returned to Australia. Married. Had children, lived to old age. Some people are just too stubborn to die. Mawson was one of them. Let's talk about the psychological progression through Antarctic winter, because the mental breakdown follows a pattern. Predictable stages like grief. But instead of accepting death, you are accepting darkness, cold, isolation, suffering. Week 1 to 2. Excitement. Adventure. You are in Antarctica. This is amazing, historic. You are making history. The darkness is interesting, novel. You light lamps, tell stories, play games. Morale is high. Everyone is optimistic. This won't be so bad. We can handle this. We're professionals. We're prepared. This phase doesn't last. Week 3 to 4. Reality. The darkness continues, and continues, and continues. The novelty wears off. The cold is no longer interesting. It is painful, constant. The excitement fades, replaced by the dawning realization. This will be months. Months of this. Months of darkness. Cold confinement. The weight of this realization is crushing. Morale drops, conversation decreases. The jokes stop being funny. Everyone becomes quieter, more internal. The reality is setting in. This is going to be bad. Really bad. Worse than we thought. Week 5 to 6. Irritability. Small things become huge things. Someone chewing too loudly. Someone's laugh. Someone's breathing. Everything annoys everyone. Snapping at each other. Short tempers. Arguments over nothing, over everything. The close quarters become oppressive. You can't escape anyone. Can't get away. Need space. Need privacy. Neither exists. You are trapped with 7 people you are starting to hate. They're trapped with you. They're starting to hate you too. The feeling is mutual. Week 7 to 8. Depression begins. Real depression. Clinical. The lack of sunlight is affecting brain chemistry. Vitamin D deficiency. Serotonin drop. Your body is betraying you, fighting you. You feel hopeless. Exhausted. What is the point? Why are we doing this? Why did I volunteer for this? Why is anything worth this? Getting out of your sleeping bag becomes impossible. The effort required is too much. You lie there, considering staying there forever. Just giving up. Stopping. The others have to force you up, make you function. You resent them for it, but also need it. Hate and gratitude mixing. Complicated emotions. Week 9 to 10. Numbness. Emotional numbness. You stop feeling much of anything. Not happy, not sad. Just existing. Going through motions. Automatic, mechanical. Wake, eat, sit, eat, sleep, repeat. No thought, no feeling. Just routine. Empty routine. Conversation stops almost entirely. Nobody has anything to say. Everything has been said, multiple times. You know everyone's stories, everyone's opinions, everyone's everything. Nothing new to discuss. So silence, comfortable silence at first, then uncomfortable silence, then oppressive silence. Then you stop noticing. Silence becomes normal. Expected. Default state. Week 11 to 12. Hallucinations begin. Lack of light, lack of stimulation, lack of nutrition, lack of sleep. Your brain starts filling in the gaps, creating stimulation. You see things. People who aren't there. Shapes in the darkness. Movement. Hear voices. Music. You know they're not real. Probably not real. But they seem real. Feel real. More vivid than reality. More interesting than the monotony. You find yourself looking forward to the hallucinations. Their entertainment. The only entertainment available. You start interacting with them. Talking to the hallucinations. Having conversations. The other explorers notice, don't comment, they're having their own hallucinations. Everyone is. This is normal now, expected. Part of Antarctic winter, collective insanity. Week 13 to 14, the lowest point, the darkest darkness. You are halfway through winter. The realization you have to do this all over again, all these weeks. Again, the same amount of time you've already endured, ahead of you. Still to come. This realization is devastating. Some people break here, completely break, stop functioning. Lie in their bunks, won't move, won't eat, won't speak, catatonic. The others try to help, force, feed them, carry them to the fire, try to keep them alive. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people die from giving up, will to live exhausted, gone, spent. Week 15 to 16, slight improvement, barely. You are past halfway. More winter is behind you than ahead. This provides minimal comfort. Very minimal, but something. A tiny bit of hope. Maybe you'll make it. Maybe you'll survive. Maybe. The days are identical, but now you are counting them, counting down. Fewer days ahead than behind. Each day is one day closer to sun, to warmth, to escape, to life. You cling to this, the countdown, the numbers, the math of survival. Week 17 to 18. Weird acceptance. You are not happy, not better, but accepting. This is life now. This darkness, this cold, this suffering. This is normal. Your baseline has shifted. You've forgotten what warmth feels like, what sunlight looks like, what normal life is. This is all you know, all you are. You've become Antarctic. The fear fades, replaced by numbness. Fatalism. You'll survive or you won't. You've done everything you can. The rest is luck. Fate. Random chance. You accept this. Stop fighting. Just enduring. Passive survival. Week 19 to 20, anticipation builds. The sun is coming soon. Not yet, but soon. Weeks away. Countable weeks. You can almost imagine it. Almost remember what sunlight looked like. The anticipation is painful, exciting, terrifying. What if you've forgotten how to handle light? What if your eyes don't work anymore? What if the sun doesn't come back? Irrational fears surface. The sun might not return. Maybe it is gone forever. Maybe the world ended, and you don't know. Maybe you are the last humans. Maybe this darkness is permanent. You know these thoughts are crazy, products of isolation and deprivation, but they feel true. They worry you. Week 21 to 22, final stretch. Almost there. The sun will return soon. Days now, countable days. Single digits potentially, the excitement is unbearable. Time moves slower than ever. Each day is eternity. You check the calendar constantly. Count the days, recount them. The numbers don't change, but checking feels productive. Sleep is impossible. Too excited, too anxious, too everything. You lie awake, planning, thinking, imagining the sun, the warmth, the light, the relief, the end of this nightmare freedom. Soon, very soon. Week 23 to 24, the sun returns. Finally, after 4 months, 120 days, 2,880 hours of darkness, the sun appears. A sliver of gold on the horizon for a few minutes, then gone. But it was there. You saw it. Everyone saw it. Real, actual, true. The emotional response is overwhelming. Grown men cry, openly, unashamed. The sun has returned. Life has returned. Hope has returned. You made it. You survived. Antarctic winter is over. You lived. Against all odds, against nature. Against Antarctica you lived. But you are changed. Fundamentally changed. You'll never be the person you were before. Antarctica has marked you, permanently. The darkness is over, but it is not gone. It is inside you now, forever. This psychological journey is documented across multiple expeditions. The pattern repeats. Predictable. Inevitable. Antarctic winter breaks people, changes them. Some recover, some don't. All are marked, for life. Let's discuss the food preparation rituals in detail, because eating in Antarctica is complicated, dangerous. Time consuming. Every meal is a production. The water preparation comes first. You need water. For hoosh. For drinking. For everything. But there is no liquid water. Everything is frozen. You need to make water from ice. Going outside to get ice is dangerous. Every trip outside carries risk. But you need ice. Can't make water without it. Someone volunteers, usually rotating duty. Fair distribution of misery. The ice collector dresses for outside. Layers, mittens. Face covering. The preparation takes 10 minutes. Just getting dressed. This is routine. Expected. You can't rush it. Mistakes kill you. Outside, visibility is 0. Total darkness. The ice collector carries a candle lantern. The tiny flame provides minimal light. Enough to see a few feet. Not enough to see danger. Crevasses. Pressure ridges. Drop-offs. All invisible. You walk carefully. Feel ahead with each step. One wrong step and you fall. Die. Nobody would find your body until spring. If then. The ice source is nearby, hopefully. Usually a snowdrift against the hut. Accessible, safe, relatively safe. Nothing in Antarctica is truly safe. You kneel. Set down the lantern. Pull out your ice axe. Start chopping. The ice is hard. Rock hard. -40 degrees makes ice extremely dense. Your axe bounces off. Barely makes a dent. You swing harder. Again. Again. Finally the ice cracks. Chips fly. You are making progress. Slow progress. Everything is slow in the cold. Your hands are freezing already. The work generates heat. Your body warms. But your hands can't warm. The mittens aren't enough. The ice axe handle conducts cold. Freezes through the mittens. Into your hands. Your fingers go numb. You keep swinging. Numbing fingers or not, you need ice. The crew needs water. You keep chopping. 10 minutes of chopping produces maybe 5 pounds of ice chips. You gather them. Put them in a canvas bag. The bag is frozen stiff. Difficult to open. Difficult to fill. But you manage 5 pounds of ice. This will make maybe 3 litres of water, maybe, if you are careful. Don't spill any. The crew drinks 3 litres in one meal. You need more ice. You chop more. Another 10 minutes. Another 5 pounds. Your hands are completely numb now. Can't feel them. Can't feel the axe handle. You are swinging by memory, by routine, muscle memory, automated survival responses. Finally, you have enough. Maybe 20 pounds of ice. This should make enough water for the day. Breakfast hoosh. Drinking water, dinner hoosh. Barely enough. But enough. You pick up the bag. It weighs more than expected. Ice is heavy, especially when you are weak, undernourished, exhausted. 20 pounds feels like 50. You carry it anyway. Have to. Lead it inside. The return to the door is precarious. Carrying the ice bag, holding the lantern, walking in darkness, on ice, slowly, carefully. One step. Another. Don't fall. Don't drop the ice. Don't lose the lantern. Success would be getting inside safely. Dropping the ice would mean going back out, chopping more. Unacceptable. You move carefully, very carefully. You reach the door, kick it. The frozen door. It doesn't open. You kick harder. Still frozen. You can't use your hands. They're holding ice and lantern. You kick repeatedly. Finally the ice seal breaks. The door opens. You stumble inside. Safe. Successful. Ice obtained. Mission accomplished. Inside, you drop the ice bag. Your hands don't want to release it. The fingers are frozen in gripping position. You have to pry them open, manually. With your other hand. This is painful. The fingers crack, move, release. The bag falls. Ice everywhere. You've spilled some. Damn. Every drop of water is precious. You gather the spilled ice, put it back in the bag. Nothing wasted. Can't afford waste. Your hands need warming. You hold them near the stove. Not too close. Too much warmth, too fast, causes pain. Extreme pain. You learn this the hard way. Everyone did. You warm them slowly, gradually. The numbness fades, replaced by tingling. Then pain. Excruciating pain. Like needles. Thousands of needles. Stabbing into your hands. This is warming. This is circulation returning. This is agony. You endure it. What choice do you have? The cook takes the ice. Begins the melting process. The pot goes on the stove. Ice chunks added. The stove has been burning for 20 minutes. The pot is hot. The ice hits the hot pot. Sizzles begins melting immediately, but not fast enough. The ice is negative 40 degrees. The pot is maybe 200 degrees. The temperature differential is huge. But ice takes time to melt. Physics doesn't care about your hunger. The first chunks melt, become water, liquid water, precious. The cook watches it carefully, makes sure nothing spills. Every drop counts. More ice added, melts slower. The accumulating water cools the pot. The melting slows further. The cook adjusts the fire, adds more coal, precious coal, but necessary. Need water. Coal is the price. 30 minutes of melting produces 3 litres of water. 3 litres from 20 pounds of ice. The math seems wrong, but it is accurate. Ice is denser than you think. Contains less water than you'd expect. 3 litres is good, better than expected sometimes. The water is ready. The cook adds pemmican. The chunks drop into the water. Float. Bob, like disgusting icebergs. The pemmican is frozen solid. It needs to melt too. More time, more heat, more coal. The process continues. The pemmican chunks slowly break apart. The fat melts first. Creates an oil slick. Greasy rainbow colors on the water's surface. Pretty. Disgusting. Pretty disgusting. The meat fibers separate. Float free. Create a stringy mass in the oily water. This is hoosh. This is food. This is survival. The cook adds salt. If there is salt, sometimes there is. Sometimes salt ran out months ago. Salt makes everything better. Not good, better. Marginally more palatable. The salt dissolves, seasons the hoosh. Slightly the seasoning is minimal, but something. Better than nothing. If there is any dried onion, the cook adds that too. Luxury. Rare. Precious. 1 dried onion for 8 men. Everyone gets a few tiny pieces. The flavor is intense. Concentrated. Amazing. You taste the onion. Savor it. It is the best thing you've eaten in months. Because it is not pemmican. Different from pemmican. Difference has value. Enormous value. The hoosh is ready. The cook ladles it into cups. 8 cups he measures carefully. Everyone gets equal portions. This is critical. Fairness is survival. Any perception of favoritism would cause fights, riots, possibly murder. The cook knows this, measures precisely, uses a marked ladle. Everyone can see the measurements are equal. Everyone watching, verifying, trusting, but verifying. You receive your cup. The hoosh is hot, steaming. You can feel the heat radiating from it. The warmth on your face is wonderful. You inhale the steam, the warm vapor. Your lungs appreciate it. The cold has been attacking your lungs for hours. The warm steam is relief. Medicine, healing. You sip carefully. The hoosh burns your tongue. You don't care. The warmth is worth it. The hot liquid goes down into your stomach, radiates heat, spreads through you. For a few minutes, you are warm inside. This is happiness. This brief warmth, this moment of not freezing. You savor it. No, it won't last. Enjoy it while it is here. The hoosh tastes like greasy meat water because that is exactly what it is. The flavor is simultaneously bland and overwhelming. Bland because you've eaten this every day for months. Your taste buds are bored, overwhelmed because the fat content is extreme. Coats your mouth, your throat, your stomach. You'll taste this for hours, burp it for hours. The flavor lingers, haunts, persists. But it is calories, dense calories. Your body needs them, craves them. You drink every drop, scrape the cup with your finger, lick the grease. Your modern self would be disgusted. Your Antarctic self doesn't care. Calories are life. Grease is survival. You consume everything, waste nothing. The meal is over. Total time from deciding to make hoosh to finishing the meal. 2 hours. 2 hours for one meal. In the modern world, you can microwave dinner in 3 minutes. Here, 2 hours is fast, efficient, well executed. You feel accomplished. You've eaten. You've survived another meal. Success. The cleanup is minimal. No washing dishes. No water to spare for that luxury. The cups are wiped with rags. The rags are frozen and filthy, but they're what you have. The grease smears around. Doesn't really clean, but it is the gesture. The attempt, maintaining civilization, pretending standards still matter. They don't. But pretending helps. Tomorrow you'll do this again. The ice collection, the melting, the pemmican, the hoosh, the same meal, the same process, the same 2 hours again and again and again for months. This is your life. This is your existence. This is Antarctic cuisine. Let's talk about what happens when someone gets seriously injured, because accidents happen. In Antarctica, they happen regularly. And there is no hospital, no doctor often, no modern medicine, just improvisation, hope, and a lot of suffering. Thomas Crean, Shackleton's expeditions, multiple expeditions, experienced, tough, nearly indestructible. But even he got hurt, severely. During one sledging journey, Crean developed severe snow blindness. His eyes were burned by UV radiation reflecting off snow. The pain was excruciating, like having sand under your eyelids. Hot sand, grinding sand. His eyes swelled shut. He couldn't see, couldn't open his eyes. Effectively blind. But they were miles from base. Had to keep moving. Crean walked blind, holding onto the sledge, led by his companions, trusting them completely. No choice. 1 foot in front of the other. For days, blind, in pain, walking. Because stopping meant death. He chose not death. Stubborn as always. His eyes eventually healed. Mostly. Some permanent damage. His vision was never quite the same. Slightly blurred. Slightly wrong. But functional. He could see. Good enough. In Antarctica, good enough is victory. Another incident. Frost-bitten toes. Multiple toes. Black, dead, infected. The infection was spreading. Up his foot, into his leg. Red streaks, visible blood poisoning. Sepsis. This kills you. Quickly days, maybe. Without treatment, certain death. The expedition had no doctor, but they had a medical kit. With scalpels, saws, anesthetic, ether, barely any, but some. Enough for maybe one surgery. This was it, the one surgery. The surgery was performed by another crew member. Not a doctor, not trained, just the person willing to do it. The patient was Crean. The surgeon was whoever was least squeamish. The operating room was the hut. The anesthetic was a few drops of ether. The sterilization was wiping the scalpel with alcohol. This was Antarctic medicine. Primitive, terrifying, necessary. Crean was given ether, a cloth soaked in ether, held over his face. He breathed it, became groggy, partly unconscious, partly aware the ether ran out. He was still partly conscious. They had to proceed anyway. Couldn't stop. The infection was spreading. The surgery had to happen. Now, the surgeon cut into Crean's toes, the infected toes. The scalpel sliced through dead flesh, through bone. Crean felt some of it. The ether wasn't enough, he screamed. Bit down on a leather strap. Tried not to move. His companions held him down, restrained him. This was for his own good. Necessary restraint. Necessary mutilation. Survival required it. 3 toes were removed. Cut off. Sawed through bone. Removed. The surgeon worked quickly. Not skillfully. Just quickly. Speed mattered. Get it done. Get it over with. Minimize suffering. Maximize survival chances. The bleeding was intense. The surgeon tried to cauterize. Heated a metal tool in the fire. Pressed it to the wounds. The smell of burning flesh filled the hut. Everyone gagged. Crean screamed again. The pain was beyond description. Beyond anything he'd experienced. And he'd experienced a lot. But it worked mostly. The bleeding stopped. The wounds were seared shut. The infection was removed. Cut out. Gone. Crean survived. Kept his foot. Kept his leg. Lost 3 toes. A bargain. A good trade. In Antarctica, losing toes is winning. He'd won. The recovery was weeks. Lying in his bunk, fevered. The wounds infected despite the cauterization. Pus formed. The wounds had to be drained. Daily painful. Disgusting. But necessary. The pus was infection. Had to be removed. The surgeon squeezed the wounds. Pus oozed out. Thick. Yellow. Green. Foul smelling. The smell filled the hut. Everyone complained. Crean apologized. For being injured. For existing. Antarctic social dynamics. But he survived. The infection cleared. The wounds healed. Slowly. Partially, scar tissue formed. Thick. Twisted. The stumps where toes had been became hard lumps. Functional lumps. He could walk. Limp. But walk. Good enough. He returned to work. Pulled sledges. Climbed glaciers. Saved lives. Did everything a man with all his toes could do. Just without 3 toes. Adaptation. Survival. Stubbornness. Another medical emergency, appendicitis. Leonid Rogozov, Soviet Antarctic Expedition, 1961. Rogozov was the doctor, the only doctor. He developed appendicitis. His appendix was inflaming, preparing to rupture. If it ruptured, he'd die. Peritonitis. Sepsis. Death. Certain death. He needed surgery, appendectomy. Remove the appendix before it ruptured. But he was the doctor. The only doctor. Nobody else had medical training. Nobody else could perform the surgery. Except him. He had to operate on himself. Self-surgery. In Antarctica, in a primitive research station. This was his situation. Rogozov prepared, laid out instruments, scalpels, forceps, sutures, arranged them within easy reach, set up a mirror so he could see his abdomen, positioned lights. Did everything he could, professional, methodical. Accepting the insanity of the situation. This was happening. This was necessary. He would do it. Local anesthetic. He couldn't be unconscious. Had to remain awake. Aware. Operating on himself required consciousness. He injected lidocaine into his abdomen, waited for it to take effect. Felt the numbness spread. Not complete. Never complete. But enough. It would have to be enough. He made the first cut into his own abdomen. Felt the scalpel slice through skin, through fat, through muscle. Felt it. The anesthetic wasn't complete. Never complete. He felt pressure, some pain, continued anyway. Had to. No alternative. The appendix was rupturing. The surgery was necessary. The pain was irrelevant. He worked by feel and mirror. The mirror showed a reversed image. Confusing. Disorienting. He had to think backwards. Left was right. Right was left. His hands shook. From stress. From fear. From the absurdity. But he continued. Methodical. Professional. One step at a time. He found the appendix. Grasped it with forceps. It was swollen. Inflamed. Ready to burst. He'd started just in time. Minutes later might have been too late. He cut it free. Carefully. Don't rupture it. Don't spill the infection. Clean removal. Perfect removal. Despite everything. Despite the circumstances. Professional. Work. He removed the appendix, held it up, looked at it. His own appendix removed by his own hands, from his own body. The absurdity was profound. The accomplishment was incredible. He'd done it. Self-surgery, successful, he'd survived. The suturing was difficult. His hands were weakening. Shock, setting in, blood loss, stress, everything accumulating. But he pushed through, one suture, another, closing the wound, layer by layer, professional. Complete. Done. He survived, healed, continued his work in Antarctica, finished the expedition, returned home, became famous. The man who removed his own appendix, in Antarctica alone. This story is legendary, true, documented, photographed, verified. This is what Antarctic survival requires. This is what people do when they have no choice, when the only option is death or impossibility. They choose impossibility. Make it possible. Survive. These medical emergencies show the reality. Antarctica is hostile, dangerous. Injuries happen. Illness happens. Medical care is improvised, primitive, often performed by non-professionals. But it works sometimes. People survive. Sometimes the alternative is death. Usually these are the choices, these are the stakes. This is Antarctic medicine. The long-term physical effects deserve attention, because surviving Antarctic winter doesn't mean escaping undamaged. The damage is permanent, cumulative, life-altering. Respiratory damage is universal. Everyone develops chronic cough. The lungs are scarred from months of breathing frozen air, smoke, coal smoke, blubber smoke. The particulates damage lung tissue. The cold damages airways. The combination creates permanent respiratory problems. The cough is wet, productive, brings up dark mucus, black sometimes. From the coal smoke, the mucus contains soot, particles, possibly blood. The cough never fully goes away. Even after leaving Antarctica, years later, the cough persists. A permanent reminder. Some explorers developed what we'd now call chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Their lungs were damaged, scarred, functioned at reduced capacity. They'd get winded easily, climb stairs and gasp for breath, run and nearly pass out. Their lungs were broken permanently. Antarctica broke them. Heart damage is common. The cold stress, the extreme exertion, the months of survival stress. All strain the heart. Hearts enlarge, ventricles thicken. The heart muscle works too hard for too long, becomes damaged, worn, weakened. Some explorers died young. Heart attacks in their 40s, in their 50s. Earlier than expected, the Antarctic damage accumulated, weakened the heart, made it vulnerable. One explorer survived Antarctica only to die from a heart attack 10 years later. The cold had been killing him slowly all along. Just took a decade to finish. Dental damage is severe. Teeth crack from the cold, from chattering, from nutritional deficiencies. Scurvy weakens teeth. They loosen, fall out. Some explorers lost half their teeth to Antarctic winter, returned home gap, toothed, prematurely aged, looking 60 at 30. The remaining teeth are damaged, weakened, prone to cavities, to infection, to breakage. Eating becomes difficult, painful. Some explorers needed dentures by age 40, full dentures, all their teeth gone, replaced with false ones, because Antarctica destroyed their real ones. Psychological damage is the worst, the most persistent, the most life-altering. Post-traumatic stress disorder before it had a name, before it was recognized, before treatment existed. The nightmares are universal. Every Antarctic veteran has them. Dreams of cold, of darkness, of being trapped, of dying. The dreams are vivid, realistic, terrifying. You wake up convinced you are still there, still in Antarctica, still freezing, still in danger. The relief when you realize you are safe is temporary. The dreams return every night, for years, for decades, for life. Some explorers never slept well again. Chronic insomnia, fear of the dreams, fear of the dark. They'd sleep with lights on, multiple lights, bright lights, trying to keep the darkness away. The Antarctic darkness. The darkness in their minds, it didn't work, but they tried. Social relationships suffered. The isolation, the forced intimacy, the months of tension, changed people, made them unable to connect normally, unable to trust, unable to be vulnerable. They built walls, psychological walls, to survive. The walls remained permanent, protective. Isolating. Some marriages failed. The explorer returned, changed. Distant, cold, unable to share, unable to connect. The wife didn't understand, couldn't understand, hadn't been there. The gap was unbridgeable. Divorce followed, another casualty of Antarctic winter. Some explorers became hermits, avoided people, preferred isolation. The forced intimacy of the hut had been traumatic. Now they chose solitude, deliberately, protectively, lived alone, died alone, the price of survival. Depression persisted, clinical depression. The darkness had changed their brain chemistry, permanently. The lack of sunlight for months had reset something, broken something. The depression remained even in sunlight, even in warmth, even home. The darkness was internal now, permanent. Some explorers committed suicide. Years later, decades later, the trauma was too much. The memories too vivid, the damage too deep. They'd survived Antarctica, but Antarctica hadn't released them, never released them, haunted them until they chose escape. Final escape, death. But some adapted, some thrived, some wore their scars proudly, told their stories, wrote books, gave lectures, made careers from their survival, inspired others, became heroes, legends. Their suffering had meaning, purpose, value. This helped, gave context, made it bearable, almost. Shackleton went back multiple expeditions, almost died multiple times, kept returning. Why? Because he couldn't function in civilization anymore. Antarctica was where he belonged, where he fit, where he made sense. He died on another expedition, in 1922, of a heart attack, on a ship, heading back to Antarctica, going home. His real home, the ice, the cold, the suffering. He belonged there, died, trying to return. Fitting end, tragic, perfect. Many explorers went back, second expeditions, third, fourth. The same response would be never again, but they weren't sane anymore. Antarctica had changed them, made them unsuitable for normal life. The ice called them. They answered, returned, suffered again. Some died, some survived. All were answering the call. The terrible, beautiful, deadly call of the ice. This is the long-term cost. The price paid for Antarctic survival. Your body is damaged. Your mind is damaged. Your relationships are damaged. Your life is damaged. You survived. But survival isn't victory. Just continuation. Changed continuation. Damaged continuation. You lived, but not well, not whole, not the same. Antarctica marked you forever. The cold is gone, but not forgotten. Never forgotten. Never forgiven. Never released. You carry Antarctica with you. In your lungs, in your heart. In your mind, until you die. The cold death you escaped in the ice eventually finds you anyway. Just takes longer. Kills slower. But kills nonetheless. Antarctica always wins. Eventually, always. This is Antarctic winter survival. The full reality, the complete picture, the total cost, physical, mental, permanent. This is what those explorers endured. This is what they sacrificed. This is what they paid. Their bodies, their minds, their futures, their lives. All of it given to the ice, to science, to exploration, to glory, to something. They thought it was worth it. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. They paid anyway. The debt was collected, in full, with interest, compounding interest, for the rest of their lives. And you should remember this. When you are cold, when you complain about winter, when you think you are uncomfortable, remember them. Remember the real cold, the real darkness, the real suffering. Remember what they endured, what they sacrificed, what they paid, and maybe complain a little less. Appreciate a little more your warmth, your light, your comfort, your safety, all of it. You have everything they wanted, everything they died wanting. You have it all. Because they went first, proved it possible, paid the price. So you could have central heating and artificial light and modern medicine and safety and comfort and life. Your comfortable life, built on their frozen suffering. Remember them, honor them, never forget what they did, what they endured, what they endured. The ultimate price, the Antarctic price. Survival barely, at terrible cost. But survival, that is what matters. That is what we remember. They survived. Most of them, some of them. The lucky ones. And that is remarkable. Against Antarctica, against nature, against reality. They survived. And that is worth remembering forever.